my own space station. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 326 I am your grandpa. Yes, Commander, I understand. There's also news that the captured Chinese citizens are likely being held in Yaktu, a border city between Ulan and Oris, and will soon be transferred to Kultek in Oris. Daizheng reported. Daizheng described the details of the situation. Is the information reliable? Shen Tuzhenghao asked excitedly. This news was too important. It concerned the success or failure of using force against Ulan. If the Chinese citizens could be rescued before leaving Ulan, then the battle would be more than half won. But if the citizens were transferred to Oris, it would be a completely different story. Not only would this battle be a complete failure, but it could also be met with international ridicule. Most importantly, it would greatly encourage surrounding forces to constantly harass China. It should be reliable. I plan to go and investigate first, Daizheng said. Okay, investigate as soon as possible. If the situation is true, be sure to detain the citizens within Ulan territory. Contact me at any time if you need support, Shen Tuzhenghao said. Although he was temporarily trapped in Bado City, he could still provide air support. Yes, Commander, Daizheng replied. By the time they arrived in Yaktu, it was already dark. The plane landed quietly in the suburbs, leaving a few people to guard the prisoners. The remaining special operations team members followed Daizheng quietly towards the city. South Yaktu is a small city, mostly made up of bungalows, and its economy is relatively backward. If nearly 100,000 people were being held here, it would be quite easy to investigate. Sure enough, they found clues not long after entering the city. In a bungalow, someone was shouting heart-wrenchingly, while laughter could also be heard. Daizheng approached the house and looked inside. From the corner of the window he saw a young woman naked, her hands tied and hanging from the rafters, constantly shouting. Only her toes could barely touch the ground. But she didn't dare to do so, struggling to lift her feet upwards. When she couldn't hold on, she would tap the ground for a moment, then quickly lift them up again. Daizheng looked down and saw that there were many rats surrounding her on the ground. The woman was very afraid of the rats, so she kept shouting every time she screamed. The onlookers would laugh excitedly seeing this scene. Daizheng was furious. Beasts! They are utterly devoid of conscience. Daizheng cursed. In his heart he issued hand signals to the other special operations team members, ordering them to check the surrounding situation soon. The other team members sent back a message that there was no one else around, so Daizheng decided to take action and take down these people. Bang! The door was kicked open. Daizheng walked in. Who is it? The onlookers quickly looked towards the door. One person shouted loudly, I am your grandpa. Take them down, Daizheng said through gritted teeth at his command. The 6 onlookers didn't even know what was happening before they were directly knocked unconscious. Daizheng walked up to the woman, cut the ropes, and draped a piece of clothing over her. The woman was overly frightened, and coupled with severe physical exhaustion, she passed out the moment she was let down. Daizheng quickly caught her, preventing her from falling. The rats had all run away at some point, and now there was no trace of them after the special operations team members had tied up all 6 people. Daizheng had already arranged for someone to place the woman in the next room. Wake them up, Daizheng said as he walked up to the 6 men. Yes, the special operations team member replied. Slap, slap, slap. They directly slapped them hard across the face. Several people were quickly slapped awake. Ah! Who are you people? How dare you attack me? One of the onlookers who had just woken up shouted. Cut out his tongue, Daizheng ordered. You can't be soft-hearted with these beasts. No need for nonsense. If they dare to be stubborn, just do it directly. The special operations team member obeyed the order, walked up, pulled out a dagger, held down his mouth, and with a flick of the wrist, the tongue was cut off. Ah! Wah wah wah. The man's mouth was full of blood, and he screamed in pain. Bang! Daizheng threw a punch, hitting the man's forehead directly. An embarrassing thing happened. Daizheng had used all his strength, but the man didn't react at all. I was careless. Daizheng smiled wryly. In his heart he had also injected the antigen serum. Although he was already a variant, the time was not enough, and his strength was still insufficient. But he certainly couldn't admit that he couldn't do it, and he definitely couldn't let these bastards have a chance to be arrogant. So he looked around and found a very thick wooden stick, Bang bang bang. He smashed it against the man's neck. He kept smashing until he stopped breathing and blood splattered all over his forehead. The other 5 people were originally laughing in their hearts, but they were immediately silenced when they saw this scene. This was simply a god of death. He was too fierce. Chapter 327 Chinese people rescued. You, tell me, where are the captured Chinese people being held? Dai Zhang asked as he approached another person. The man hesitated for only 2 seconds before speaking, and Dai Zhang, without saying a word, picked up his club and started hitting him hard on the head. The man immediately lost consciousness. You speak, Dai Zhang said, breathing heavily, pointing to the next person. They're near the west train station. The man stammered. How many people are guarding the place? Dai Zhang asked. Thousand, more or less. The man replied. Are they all modified humans? Dai Zhang asked. Yes. The man nodded. Good, not bad. Eliminate them all. Dai Zhang nodded, acknowledging him, and ordered the special operations soldiers. Several special operations soldiers stepped forward and slit the throats of the men. Comrades, the next battle will be a tough one. The enemy consists of over 1,000 modified humans, and we only have 40-some people. I demand that we annihilate them as quickly as possible while ensuring the safety of the civilians as much as possible. Can everyone do it? Dai Zhang said. Yes, the special operations soldiers replied in unison. Good, next I'll arrange the combat missions. Team 1 will attack from the south, Team 2 will attack from the north, and we will attack from both sides. Resolve the battle within half an hour, is that clear? Dai Zhang said. Clear, the soldiers responded. Good, move out. With Dai Zhang's order, the 2 teams set off simultaneously. Dai Zhang's current combat strength was not good, so he didn't join in the fun. He returned to the plane and monitored the progress of the battle through the screen. The 2 teams began their attack almost simultaneously. The sound of the laser guns was very small, and many of the enemies were shot in the head before they could react. Enemy attack. Someone quickly discovered the attack and shouted loudly. The people who were resting in the rooms came out one after another and joined the battle. The scene suddenly became chaotic compared to the mutants. The combat power of the modified humans was still lacking. Their speed, strength, and reaction abilities were not on the same level at all. In addition, the special operations soldiers had the protection of combat suits, so eliminating them was as easy as chopping melons and vegetables in less than 20 minutes. The 2 squads had broken through. After joining forces, they began searching the houses. Sure enough, many of the warehouses near the station were packed, filled with people. Everyone heard the warehouse doors being broken open and looked towards the entrance. The people who rushed in were wearing camouflage uniforms, with hoods on their heads and guns in their hands, looking like terrorists. No one dared to speak, and they all lowered their heads. Everyone, don't be afraid, we are from China and we are here to rescue you. The incoming soldier shouted. People in the crowd began to discuss cautiously, but no one believed it and they kept their heads down. Now listen to me, you have been rescued, now go out in an orderly manner and gather in the square in front, the soldier said, leaving the doorway open. Some of the bolder ones raised their heads and looked at the door. The door was indeed open, but no one dared to go out, and the ground was covered with corpses. This confirmed it, they were indeed saved. Everyone, get up quickly, it's true. We are really saved. The person who looked out shouted excitedly. Now the people were completely agitated and stood up and squeezed towards the door. Now, the station square was full of people. They were all ragged and disheveled. As if they had never seen the world, they all raised their heads and breathed the air of freedom. Everyone, gather here, the captain of the Special Operations Team 1 shouted. Hearing the call, the crowd walked towards him. More and more people gathered. That was nearly 100,000 people. All young people with all their limbs. The captain stood on a high place and looked out at the moonlight, and there were people everywhere. Bang! A shot rang out and the captain was hit. The crowd was frightened by the sound of the gun and ran in all directions at the same time. Several soldiers had locked onto the person who fired the gun, teleported over in an instant, and quickly took him down. This must be a lurking survivor who slipped through the net. Everyone, don't panic, the shooter has been caught, come over here together. The captain shouted again. This time the shout was more effective, and everyone turned to look at him. Everyone was curious. Wasn't this person shot? Why didn't he die? Everyone, listen carefully, we haven't completely escaped the danger yet. Everyone must obey orders and listen to commands. Now listen to my command, sit down on the spot, the captain shouted. There was no time for so much nicety, there were too many people, and once a riot occurred, It would be difficult for them to stabilize the situation even with dozens of people. Letting them sit down could effectively avoid riots and trampling, as the captain emphasized it again and again. Everyone cooperated and sat down, and the scene finally quieted down. Chapter 328 Rescue Mission Completed. Report, Commander. The nearly 100,000 Huaguo citizens who were captured have been successfully rescued, Dai Zheng reported to Shunta Zheng Hao after watching the rescue operation on the screen. Good. 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 You must ensure the safety of the citizens. I will arrange for planes to go there as soon as possible, Shunta Zheng Hao said. Yes, sir, Dai Zheng replied after hanging up. Shunta Zheng Hao contacted the parliament immediately. It was already late at night. Bailey Ji, upon receiving this news, didn't bother to rest and directly called all military regions, ordering them to arrange planes to Yakutsk as quickly as possible. The 4 military regions, plus the central military region, could muster a total of about 1,200 transport planes. These transport planes varied in size. The larger ones could carry about 800 people, while the smaller ones could only carry a few dozen. However, there was still a problem. The southwest military region and the southeast military region were relatively far away, with a straight line distance of over 2,000 kilometers to Yakutsk. The northwest military region and the northeast military region were closer, but the straight line distance still exceeded 1,500 kilometers. Large transport planes, when fully fueled, could fly over 5,000 kilometers, so a round trip would definitely be enough. But medium and small transport planes wouldn't be able to make it. They would need to refuel at least 3 to 7 times for a round trip. Currently, the conditions for refueling weren't met, so small and medium transport planes couldn't be used. The 5 military regions only had a total of 83 large transport planes, which could transport a maximum of just over 60,000 people in one trip, but there was no other way. They would have to make 2 trips. The flight speed of the transport planes was about Mach 0.7, roughly 850 kilometers per hour. According to this calculation, the planes from the northwest military region and the northeast military region would arrive in about 2 hours at the earliest, while the southwest military region and the southeast military region would need 3 hours. To save as much time as possible, all the citizens would be uniformly transported to the Inner Mongolia military district of the northwest military region, because it was the closest to Yakutsk, with a straight line distance of only about 1,000 kilometers. At the same time, the planes could refuel there at 23:30. The first batch of 46 transport planes arrived in Yakutsk, evacuating more than 36,000 citizens at 0:40. The second batch of 37 transport planes arrived, evacuating nearly 30,000 citizens at 3:40. The first batch of 46 transport planes arrived in Yakutsk again, transporting all the remaining citizens away. Thus, the rescue mission of the Huaguo citizens was considered a complete success at this moment. Lingyan in Bado City had not yet received this news. The train sent by Kurdak of the Oris country to Yakutsk was still stuck in Norilsk and had not yet arrived Bado City. Bodokan Mountains. A large number of armored ants were crossing the mountains and heading towards the Urakhan district. The simulated spider robots, after eliminating some of the armored ants in the Gal district, had rushed to the western part of the Bodokan Mountains to intercept them. Shunta Zheng Hao didn't rest and kept monitoring the battlefield through the screen after learning that the citizens had been successfully transported back to the country. He breathed a deep sigh of relief. This battle was the most frustrating one he had ever fought until now. His main force was trapped in a circle, unable to exert much influence. Instead, he needed the protection of a small team of dozens from the Huatuang Business Association and a nameless iron tower. Moreover, almost all the important intelligence, including the enemy's troop deployment, was investigated and clarified by them. Also, the simulated spider robots and flying robots seemed to have some kind of hidden relationship with the Huatuang Business Association. It was hard to imagine that all of this came from a newly established private organization. It was too terrifying. If this Huatuang Business Association had any ambitions, it might bring disaster to the entire Huaguo. This was what he was thinking at this moment. The simulated spider robots and the armored ants engaged in a fierce positional war in the Bodokan Mountains. Because the robots entered the position first, they occupied the high ground on the top of the mountain. The armored ants charged forward one after another, suffering heavy casualties to ensure the continuous output of firepower. Shunta Zheng Hao also moved the charging cabinets nearby. After a night of fierce fighting, the simulated spider robots, at the cost of damaging more than 16,000 units, finally annihilated a giant ant army in the valley. Slap. After hearing Ling Su's report, Ling Yan slapped her hard. Useless. Useless. Those were hundreds of thousands of giant ants. And they were wiped out just like that, Ling Bian cursed, angrily throwing everything on the table to the ground. Ling Su covered her face, tears streaming down. She didn't blame Ling Bian for being ruthless and turning against her. She only blamed herself for being truly useless, unable to do even the simplest things. While seeing Ling Su crying, Ling Bian took a deep breath, walked up to her, and said, Su, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have hit you. Ling Bian stroked her head, his voice softening. Senior brother, it's not your fault, it's my fault. I'm really too stupid. So many giant ants couldn't defeat tens of thousands of small spiders, Ling Su said dejectedly. Alright, don't cry. It's already happened, there's no use in regretting it, Ling Bian comforted. Senior brother, what do we do next? Ling Su asked. Huaguo hasn't taken any action against Bigask. It seems they've guessed our intentions. Now we must think of another way. These two major countries must fight each other. If it really doesn't work, we can only focus on those 100,000 Huaguo people, Ling Bian said. Chapter 329. I just want to chat with you. Senior brother, those prisoners are to be sent to Kultak. If we act against them, we will be blamed by those above, and you might be punished, Ling Su said anxiously, quickly trying to stop him. HMPH. Don't worry, as long as it can provoke conflict between the two countries, no one will blame us, Ling Bian replied confidently. Alright then, Ling Su no longer tried to dissuade him. August 24, 2055 AD, 8 a.m. Shen Tuzhanghao ordered all the remaining 43,000 plus simulated spider robots to advance north, beginning the final attack on Bardo City's last target, the temple located north of the city center. He didn't plan to deal with those dung beetles. As long as the temple was captured, these dung beetles would surely collapse at the same time. Daizhang led a small group of special operations and had already arrived at the temple ahead of time. This temple is the largest temple within the borders of Wulan. With a history of over 1,000 years, the Queen Bee had already scouted the area in advance, and all armed militants with offensive capabilities had been marked. A certain number of nanobots had been attached to all of them. With a single command, these people would be killed simultaneously within seconds. However, these people could not be killed yet. To be precise, these people were to be left for Shen Tuzhanghao to kill. Although Daizhang felt a bit guilty, he clearly understood the importance of the matter. He could not report this situation to Shen Tuzhanghao, nor could he act in advance. If these people died before Shen Tuzhanghao acted, then without a doubt, it would be Daizhang and his men who did it. Because besides Daizhang's group, there were no other teams here. In that case, the council would suspect that the Huitong Business Association's purpose here was not to find a treatment plan, but to obtain a method to control creatures. This would lead to a clear point of conflict between the association and the council, which Dongfang Chen was unwilling to see. In fact, for Dongfang Chen, whether or not he could obtain a method to control creatures was not the main thing. At least for now, his mechanical queen bee was very easy to use. He was simply curious about how these people did it. Since he couldn't kill them, Daizhang could only hide and quietly wait for an opportunity. Under the queen bee's reconnaissance, he already knew that there was a big fish inside, and this big fish was about to slip away. His mission was to catch this big fish. Sure enough, when Ling Duan learned that the simulated spider robots were about to arrive, he took Ling Su and a few subordinates and boarded the departing helicopter. With the defensive forces almost completely depleted, he had no choice but to abandon this experimental base. Around 9 a.m., the simulated spider robots arrived at the temple and launched an attack directly. There were no hostages inside. So Shen Tuzhanghao didn't have many concerns. In the moment before the robots broke in, Ling Bian's helicopter had already taken off and was flying north. Daizhang followed. A battle at the temple had nothing to do with him anymore. He just needed to keep an eye on this big fish. Dongfang Chen guessed that they wouldn't give up easily and would most likely go to Yakta first. Therefore, Daizhang left most of the special operations team members there, lying in ambush in advance. However, nothing is absolute, so Daizhang still had to keep a close eye on them if things didn't go as planned. Daizhang would shoot them down before they left Ulan. This way, it would be foolproof. Facts proved that they wouldn't give up easily. Ling Bian's plane still came to Yakta as expected. He came full of hope, but the reality gave him a harsh blow. The Yakta train station was covered in corpses. What is going on here? What happened? Ling Bian roared in grief, looking at the corpses all over the ground. Who did this? Who did this? He roared to the sky. Stop shouting. I did it. Someone answered. This person was Daizhang. You did it. You deserve to die. You really deserve to die. Ling Bian turned to look at the speaker. Gnashing his teeth, Ling Su heard someone speaking and quickly stood in front of Ling Dian. The other subordinates quickly stepped forward, protecting the two behind them. Dai Zhang casually pointed forward, and several modified human subordinates immediately fell to the ground and died. Ling Dian and Ling Su were immediately stunned by this scene. What's going on? What kind of method is this? Is this some kind of immortal magic? He actually killed several modified humans with a light finger? These are modified humans. How could they die so easily? The two were filled with questions. Dai Zhang was quite satisfied with this move. Although it wasn't based on his own strength, it was definitely a great tool for showing off. I killed them. What? Do you have a problem with that? Dai Zhang asked arrogantly. Who are you? Ling Dian asked, feeling a little unsure of himself. A Chinese. Dai Zhang replied. What do you want? Ling Dian continued to ask. Don't be afraid. I don't want anything. I just want to chat with you, Dai Zhang said with a smile. Chapter 330. Come to me if you can. Chat? I have nothing to talk about with you. Ling Dian refused, trying to sound tough. Is that so? You don't have a choice in the matter. Please. Dai Zhang's tone was thick with threat. With me here, you can forget about hurting my senior brother. Ling Su didn't flinch at all, blocking him. Tisk, tisk, tisk. What deep sibling affection. But, I'm afraid you're not up to the task. Take them down. Dai Zhang shook his head, a look of disdain on his face. As soon as Dai Zhang finished speaking, several special operations soldiers quickly stepped forward, preparing to subdue the two. However, the two were not pushovers, both possessing the strength of a Tier 1 mutant. Consequently, several more special operations soldiers appeared, joining the battle. These people are all mutants. Ling Dian was shocked as soon as he made a move. Are mutants so common? A dozen or so people, all mutants. He knew that even within the Holy Church, innate mutants could at least become holy sons, with the power to form their own forces. But these people looked like ordinary soldiers, which was a bit hard to accept. The so-called innate mutants are those who evolve naturally. Unlike modified humans, who are created artificially. A dozen people against two, it didn't take much effort at all. The two were quickly subdued. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Take them away. Dai Zhang ordered. The two were escorted to a warehouse. Let's talk. How do you control those rabbits, dung beetles, and ants? Dai Zhang cut straight to the chase. The two didn't answer. You're being stubborn, huh? That's easy to deal with. I like the stubborn ones. Bring someone over, Dai Zhang instructed. Soon, a special operations soldier dragged a modified human from the aircraft. The modified human trembled involuntarily upon seeing Ling Dian and Ling Su in front of him. I'm done for. It seems the laboratory has been taken out. The modified human thought he had completely given up. Even the Holy Sun was no match for these people, so what resistance could he offer? Inject it. Dai Zhang took out a syringe and handed it to a soldier. Thump. Seeing Dai Zhang take out another terrifying syringe, the modified human knelt directly on the ground. Commander, spare me. I've said everything I should say. Please let me off. Although the modified human's upper body was tightly bound, he kowtowed vigorously. The soldier took the syringe and, without a word, held him down and injected it directly. See that? Those modified humans of yours are all trash in my eyes. Now, enjoy the show, Dai Zhang said. After being injected with the serum, the modified human experienced a roller coaster for half an hour, and finally foamed at the mouth and passed out. Have you thought it over now? Can you talk? Dai Zhang asked. What's the big deal? Bring it on, Ling Su shouted. Ready to die? Tisk, tisk, tisk. Not bad. Since you want to protect your senior brother, I can't not give you a chance. How about this? As long as you speak, I'll let him go. What do you think? Dai Zhang asked. Ling Su cared so much about Ling Dian that Dai Zhang easily saw a breakthrough. Impossible. Ling Su refused. Is that so? Then I'm really helpless. Let your senior brother taste the flavors of Qian Li first. Maybe after tasting it, you'll have a different perspective. Dai Zhang threatened. In his opinion, Ling Su was just an inexperienced little girl, completely fooled by this Ling Tian. Therefore, dealing with her was not difficult at all. At this moment, Ling Tian was silent. He saw the horror of the syringe and was very afraid. Don't hurt him, come at me. Ling Su was anxious. Why the hurry? Didn't you see that your senior brother isn't anxious at all? I think he certainly wouldn't bear to let you, his junior sister, suffer, wouldn't you say? Dai Zhang looked at Ling Dian and asked. Ling Dian lowered his head and said nothing. Good for nothing. Dai Zhang looked down on him for letting a woman step forward. Come, inject him. Dai Zhang ordered. The soldier took the syringe and stepped forward to obey. No. No, Ling Su shouted. Don't. I'll talk. I'll talk. Seeing the special operations soldier coming over with a syringe, Ling Bian dared not resist any longer. Senior brother, don't say it. Once you say it, there's no turning back. Ling Su quickly stopped him when she heard Ling Bian was about to speak. That's easy. I promise that the person who speaks can leave alive. At that time, all the responsibility can be pushed onto the dead person, and everything will be fine. Dai Zhang said. Hearing this sentence, Ling Bian was stunned, and Ling Su was also stunned. Only one person can leave, Ling Su thought. Is it still possible to leave? Ling Bian thought at this time. The two people's thoughts were completely different. Little girl, I think you will definitely give this opportunity to your senior brother. Am I right? Dai Zhang asked with a smile. Ling Su didn't speak. How can I believe what you said is true? Ling Bian asked. Oh, this question is a bit difficult. I can't prove it. But you can choose not to believe it, and leave this chance to live to your little junior sister, don't you think? Dai Zhang pretended to be embarrassed. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331 Lingshan Confession. Dai Zhang was certain that he was a coward. Now that there was a chance to live, he would definitely not give it to his naive junior sister. I'll talk. Ling Bian panicked upon hearing this and quickly expressed his willingness. Senior brother, Ling Su wanted to stop him, but she didn't know what to say. If she stopped her senior brother, he would die here, which was not what she wanted to see. But Ling Bian's choice to speak meant pushing her alone towards death. At this moment, she felt a trace of loss, a trace of sadness, and a trace of hope. She was lost because her senior brother didn't think about giving her the chance to live. Although she wasn't afraid of death, which girl wouldn't want her beloved to dote on her? She was sad because she was going to die and would never see her senior brother again. She hoped that Dai Zhang would keep his word and spare her senior brother's life, even if she had to bear the blame for betraying the Holy Church herself. Take her out first, Dai Zhang ordered originally. He had a bit of dark amusement in his heart, wanting to let this little girl see the true colors of her senior brother. But thinking about it, he decided to forget it and focus on completing the mission. What if she was naive? Even if she was naive, she couldn't wash away the monstrous crime of slaughtering the people of an entire city. Ling Su looked back at her senior brother every few steps, reluctantly leaving the warehouse. Her eyes were full of tears, trying hard to remember her senior brother's appearance in her heart. After Ling Su left, Dai Zhang spoke. Alright, speak. But I advise you, don't try any tricks. You only have this one chance, so grasp it tightly. Okay, Ling Bian nodded. In Oris, at Kurdak, there is a biological laboratory belonging to a holy church. There is an experimental team specializing in gene programming technology, Ling Bian said. Dongfang Chen, through the images synchronized by Dai Zhang, had been paying attention to the progress of the interrogation. When he heard the words gene programming technology, his heart skipped a beat. What does this have to do with controlling those animals? Dai Zhang asked. He didn't understand these questions at all. On the one hand, he didn't know what to ask, and on the other hand, he wouldn't understand even if the other party answered. In fact, Dongfang Chen was sending the questions to him through the digital eye, and he was just asking them accordingly, because those animals are all genetically modified creatures. Ling Bian revealed a shocking secret. Dongfang Chen's head buzzed when he heard his answer. He hadn't developed gene programming technology, but someone else had. Now, he just didn't know how far the other party had developed this technology. How exactly is it implemented? Dongfang Chen sent the question to Dai Zhang, who asked it. This field is very specialized. I only know the general operational process, but I'm not very clear on how each step is implemented. Ling Bian said. Tell me what you know. Dai Zhang said. Okay. The researchers in the laboratory mainly analyze and study the genes of bats, extracting the gene fragments responsible for ultrasonic vocalization and reception, and transplanting these fragments into the fertilized eggs of other animals. However, it is said that for a long time at the beginning, the experimental process was not smooth. Most of the gene-modified fertilized eggs died in the womb when they developed to a certain stage. Even if a very few juveniles were successfully produced, they could not survive due to malformations. Ling Bian said. What happened later? Dai Zhang continued to ask. Later, after the virus outbreak, a genius teenager came to the laboratory. He successfully cultivated a kind of rat rabbit that could receive ultrasonic signals in just over a month, and this rat rabbit could recognize as many as 16 kinds of ultrasonic signals. Ling Bian said. Wait, Are you saying that you had already established a biological laboratory in Oris before the virus outbreak? Dai Zhang asked on behalf of Dongfang Chen. Strictly speaking, that laboratory was not established by us, but belonged to the country of Oris. It was only later secretly controlled by us, Ling Bian explained. Now that the virus is rampant, the biological laboratory should belong to the strategic department. How could the country of Oris sit idly by? Dai Zhang asked. They don't know that there is a problem with the laboratory. In name, it is still under the official management, Ling Bian explained. Dai Zhang nodded, indicating that he understood. Continue, Dai Zhang said, the rat rabbits have a strong reproductive capacity. In a few months, the laboratory cultivated tens of thousands of these mutated rat rabbits. They don't need to be trained and are born with the ability to recognize and execute 16 kinds of commands. After learning of this news, the Holy Church put forward 2 requirements. First, to cultivate an army of combat rat rabbits as soon as possible, and second, to try to cultivate other mutated animals, Ling Bian said. So the dung beetles and ants were also cultivated in the laboratory? Dai Zhang asked. The dung beetles are, but it is said that half of the reason for the ants was an accident, Ling Bian replied. What do you mean? Dai Zhang asked. They initially cultivated a small ant. However, possibly due to the influence of the virus, the ants mutated, and a giant ant that could recognize sound waves was cultivated by accident, Ling Bian explained. Then how do you control these 3 kinds of animals differently? Dai Zhang asked. I don't know the specific reasons, but I roughly know that there are differences in the sound wave frequencies that different species can recognize, Ling Bian said. Chapter 332 What is the holy religion? How do you control them? Dai Zhang asked. We only need to send corresponding ultrasonic signals, and they will execute the corresponding tasks after receiving the signals, Ling Bian replied. Then where is your main controller? Dai Zhang asked. What main controller? Ling Bian asked. Dai Zhang was stunned, and Dongfang Chen sent another question. Your transmitter. Dai Zhang said. Oh, there are 2 types of transmitters. One is a fixed transmitter, which has a higher power and a wider coverage area. The other is a mobile transmitter, which has a smaller coverage area but is more mobile, Ling Bian explained. Where's the fixed transmitter installed? What does the mobile transmitter look like? Dai Zhang asked. The fixed transmitter is installed in a temple in Bado City. The mobile transmitter is installed on vehicles, Ling Bian replied. Is the fixed transmitter only installed in that one location? Dai Zhang asked. Yes. Fixed transmitters are more expensive and require electricity, so only that one is installed within the borders of Wulin, Ling Bian nodded in confirmation. If it is controlled by sound waves, doesn't that mean that as long as you know what the corresponding commands are, other people can control those animals too? Dai Zhang asked. I don't know about that, Ling Bian shook his head, indicating that he had never thought about such a question. If you don't answer the questions honestly, I can't guarantee you'll leave here safely, Dai Zhang warned. I really don't know. I've never thought about this kind of question, nor have I asked about it. Oh, right, you can ask my junior sister. She's the one who controls those animals, she definitely knows, Ling Bian said anxiously, showing some fear. Take him out and bring that little girl in. Dai Zhang ordered the special forces. Yes, the special forces grabbed Ling Bian and walked out. Oh, right, I have one more question. Dongfang Chen sent another question, and Dai Zhang hurriedly asked the team members stopped. Please speak, Ling Bian responded. What exactly is the Holy Church you mentioned? Dai Zhang asked. This, Ling Bian was a little afraid to say. Dai Zhang threatened. Manichaeism, Ling Bian answered. Manichaeism? What is the relationship between that and the redcoats? Dai Zhang asked. Dongfang Chen had long suspected that the redcoats must be a peripheral force launched by a certain mysterious sect, and asking this question now was to confirm it. According to the Manichaean rules, disciples of the Holy Sun level can form their own forces. The redcoats have already made a name for themselves, so many Holy Sons have adopted this name. This allows them to both stick together for warmth and boost each other's momentum, Ling Bian explained. Dai Zhang nodded. Dongfang Chen also verified his guess after hearing this answer. It seems that the redcoats are scattered on the surface, partly due to loose management, and partly because there are many managers behind the scenes. This also explains why such a loose redcoats organization has never been eliminated. That's because too many branches are intertwined, like a hemp rope. Cut one strand and there's still another. It looks loose, but it is actually tough. Alright, take him out. Dai Zhang waved his hand soon. Ling Su was brought in. Little girl, if you were given a choice, Would you want your senior brother to stay here and die with you? Or would you choose for you to die and him to live, or for you to live and him to die? Dai Zhang asked. Kill me, please keep your promise and let my senior brother leave, Ling Su said without hesitation. Alice. It's possible, but I'm in a difficult position right now, Dai Zhang sighed pretentiously. Are you going back on your word? Ling Su was a little unhappy when she saw Dai Zhang's expression. Of course not. It's just that your senior brother is useless. He doesn't know anything when I ask him, so it's difficult for me to do. Dai Zhang spread his hands and said, is that so? Could it be that senior brother wants to leave the chance to live to me? It seems that I misunderstood him, Ling Su muttered to herself with a happy expression after hearing Dai Zhang's answer. This, Dai Zhang meant to trick her into saying more, and had no other implications. This little girl's brain circuit is really peculiar. Since your senior brother wants to leave this opportunity to you, then you must seize it. Dai Zhang could only helplessly go along with it. Ask away. But I have a condition, Ling Su said. What condition? Dai Zhang asked. I hope you can keep your promise and let my senior brother leave, Ling Su said. You mean you want to give the chance to live to him? Dai Zhang asked. Yes, Ling Su affirmed. Chapter 333, Using People as Raw Materials. Okay, but the prerequisite is that what you say has to be valuable, Dai Zhang said. I'll tell you everything I know, Ling Su said. Deal, Dai Zhang agreed readily. Then ask away, Ling Su said. What is the name of the holy church you mentioned? Dai Zhang asked. Ling Dong had already answered this question, but Dai Zhang asked again to verify it. The Mani sect, Ling Su replied. Where's your headquarters? Dai Zhang asked. I don't know, I've never been there, Ling Su shook her head. Then how did you join the Mani sect? Dai Zhang asked, puzzled. I was raised by my master since I was little. He said we were all holy children belonging to the Mani sect, Ling Su replied. Your explanation is a bit far-fetched, isn't it? If you've never been to the Mani sect, why would you be so devoted to working for them? Dai Zhang was a little skeptical. Although we've never been to the headquarters, and don't even know if such a sacred place exists, we have a baptism ceremony every month on the night of the full moon, Ling Su replied. It's still a bit far-fetched. If it were me, such a baptism ceremony alone wouldn't be enough to make me believe in it. Dai Zhang still didn't believe it. Of course not. The baptism ceremony can make a person less sick, or even not sick at all, Ling Su said. How is that possible? How do you know it's not a coincidence? Dai Zhang retorted. Just doing some kind of baptism ceremony can prevent illness. That's nonsense, isn't it? Do young people still believe in that feudal superstition stuff? Dai Zhang thought to himself. One person is a coincidence, but are all people a coincidence? Ling Su retorted. I think there's a possibility of that. Dai Zhang insisted on his point of view. Then let me tell you another fact. The baptism ceremony has prevented us from being infected by this virus. Do you still think that's a coincidence? Ling Su asked firmly. Are you saying that you didn't inject any medicine, and you naturally became mutants? Dai Zhang was shocked by this statement. That's right. Not just me. Almost all the holy children are like that, Ling Su replied proudly. His Dai Zhang gasped. Dongfang Chen, who was listening behind the scenes, was also shocked by this statement. He hadn't paid attention to how these holy children became mutants. After all, he hadn't seen many holy children, and he hadn't thought about it in that direction. But after this little girl said it today, Dongfang Chen realized that this matter was not simple. If the baptism ceremony she mentioned could cure all diseases, Dongfang Chen could explain it with survivor bias. However, a large number of holy children all showed virus immunity and successfully advanced to become mutants. Then it was definitely not a psychological effect. Moreover, this is not some feudal superstition. There must be an unknown secret hidden behind this. You don't believe in the Holy Church because you don't understand it enough. When you understand it enough, you will be able to experience the power of the Holy Church. Ling Su always showed a proud expression on her face. He originally just wanted to casually ask about the Mani sect, but he didn't expect to dig up a big secret unintentionally. Regarding the biological laboratory in Kultak, Russia, how much do you know? Dai Zhang asked. What aspect do you want to know? Ling Su asked. Tell me everything you know. Dai Zhang replied. Dongfang Chen wasn't sure if he could dig up any more explosive news, so he didn't want to limit the scope of her answer. I don't know much. I only know that there is a genius senior brother there who developed this artificially controlled animal legion, Ling Su replied. According to your senior brother, you are the one controlling those dung beetles and ants? Dai Zhang asked. Yes, Ling Su replied. A few days ago, the Bei and Sumu settlement in northern China was massacred. Did you do that too? Dai Zhang asked. That's right, Ling Su replied. I can't believe that such a simple-minded little girl like you would be so heartless. Daizhang gritted his teeth. The Holy Church needs those people. I was just ordered to complete the task, Ling Su said with her eyes closed. It could be seen that when she said this, there was a faint trace of sadness in her heart. However, Daizhang directly ignored this point. What do you want to do with so many people you've captured? Daizhang asked. I'm not sure, maybe to produce cyborgs, Ling Su replied. This was the second time Daizhang had heard the word produce. The last time he interrogated a captured cyborg, they also said produce. Why do you say that cyborgs are produced? Daizhang asked. I heard that the laboratory is researching second-generation cyborgs. These people will be used as raw materials to produce new cyborgs. But I just heard it, and I don't know the details, Ling Su replied. Raw materials. Daizhang was furious when he heard this word. These cultists really deserve to die. Treating people as raw materials? Outrageous. Simply outrageous. He was extremely angry, and it took him several minutes to barely calm down. Chapter 334 Mysterious Baptism Ceremony. Tell me how those animals are controlled, Daizhang said. Those animals have been genetically modified to recognize ultrasonic waves. I can issue commands to them through an ultrasonic transmitter, Ling Su explained. When we were in Bardo, the dung beetles and ants were all on the battlefield. How did they know which command was for them? Daizhang asked. Ling Duan had already answered this question, but Dongfang Chen wanted to hear Ling Su's answer as well. It is said that different animals receive different frequencies of sound waves, so they don't interfere with each other, Ling Su replied. It is said. You can control them, but you don't know this, Daizhang questioned. The control consoles are preset and integrate many practical command sets. I don't need to understand the internal workings, I just select the corresponding command through the console, Ling Su explained. Can I understand it this way? Multiple control consoles can control those animals simultaneously, Daizhang asked. Yes, Ling Su affirmed. Then, if your opponents obtain a control console or crack the sound wave signal, wouldn't they be able to control those animals in reverse? Daizhang asked. Probably, but I'm not very sure, Ling Su said hesitantly. Everything was completely clear now. The council's initial guess was largely correct. To control those animals, no additional cost is required. The so-called additional cost refers to modifying each animal individually. If there were additional costs, the animal legion could not expand indefinitely. Conversely, if there were no additional costs, these animals could reproduce in large numbers, and the animal legion could expand indefinitely. There is a fundamental difference between these two scenarios. Judging from the interrogation results, these animals have been genetically modified at the gene level to increase their innate ability to recognize sound waves. Genes, as hereditary material, can be directly passed on to the next generation. In other words, animals that can recognize sound waves can produce more individuals with the same ability after breeding, which is equivalent to no additional cost. Of course, there may be offspring who inherit the gene but do not have the ability to recognize sound waves, but this is easily solved. Individuals who can recognize sound waves are easily selected, and the remaining individuals without this function are directly eliminated under artificial selective evolution. It can be ensured that the offspring all have this genetic trait. Let's talk about the Mani sect. Say whatever you know. Daizhang changed the subject. My master said that the holy sect is the greatest sect in the world, and only she can lead us to the light. As long as we sincerely perform the baptism ritual, we will receive blessings. I don't know anything else, Ling Su said. What is the process of the baptism ritual? Daizhang asked. There's nothing special about it. Just sit in meditation on the night of the full moon, eliminate distractions, close your eyes, and meditate. Ling Su shook her head and said, that's it. Daizhang didn't believe it. That's it. Ling Su nodded. Then do you mean anyone can do this? As long as they meditate on the night of the full moon, they can resist the virus. Daizhang asked. He didn't believe in such mysterious things. Dongfang Chen didn't believe it either. I don't know if what you do works, I only know that what we do works, Ling Su replied. Hearing this, Dongfang Chen could basically conclude that this Ling Su was simply too naive and thought too simply. She firmly believed that everything her master said was correct and would not question it at all. He thought there must be other operations behind the baptism ritual. It could not be created out of nothing. However, there was no way to get that information by asking her. Do you know Ling Yu? Daizhang asked another question. Ling Yu? Ling Su was a little puzzled. That's right, Daizhang affirmed. Someone with the Ling character in their name, also a holy son of our holy sect, right? Ling Su asked. That's right, Daizhang replied. He didn't know who Ling Yu was himself. He was just asking for Dongfang Chen. Dongfang Chen suddenly thought of it, so he just asked casually, I don't know them. Ling Su shook her head. All right. I'll ask you one last time, are you sure you want to give this opportunity to your senior brother? Dai Zhang asked. Yes, Ling Su nodded firmly. All right then. Take her away. Dai Zhang ordered. He had finished asking his questions, and now he had to send her back to China. Then you must keep your promise to me, Ling Su emphasized. Don't worry, I will. Dai Zhang replied. Letting Ling Tian leave was also Dongfang Chen's idea. A micrometer-sized eavesdropping device had been secretly implanted in Ling Tian's body, just like Ling Yu and the bearded man. Killing them would be easy, but meaningless. Letting him go back would provide an opportunity to obtain more information. In fact, they had no choice, only Ling Tian could be sent back. Because Ling Tian might be able to access more information, which would be more valuable. Promising Ling Su was just a matter of taking advantage of the situation, and there was one more thing that Ling Su needed to do. Shen Zhenghao's troops were still trapped in Bardo, and she still needed to control those dung beetles. Dai Zhang walked out of the warehouse and said to Ling Tian, you are very lucky that your junior sister is willing to sacrifice herself to save you. But I advise you not to go to China again, or you won't be so lucky next time. Dai Zhang warned. Ling Tian lowered his head and said nothing, his fists clenched tightly. Dai Zhang knew that saying these words was useless, but the things that should be done always had to be done. The train from Kultak should arrive soon. Good luck to you, Dai Zhang said before turning and leaving. The Special Forces members left him there and followed Dai Zhang onto the plane. Chapter 335 Internal Reform Needed. Ling Su was taken away by Dai Zhang, leaving Ling Tian alone at the Yaktu train station. They needed to return to Bado City, where things still needed to be finalized. At this moment, the army of simulated spider robots had already stormed into the temple, engaging in fierce combat with the modified humans left behind on the plane. Dai Zhang contacted Shen Zhenghao and reported the situation in Yaktu. Of course, this intelligence had been altered. Dai Zhang told Shen Zhenghao that his mercenary squad had discovered some suspicious individuals in Yaktu and engaged them in battle, eventually capturing a prisoner who seemed to hold a high position. Shen Zhenghao was overjoyed upon hearing this news. He hadn't expected to reap unexpected gains there after rescuing the Chinese citizens. However, after a moment's thought, he understood that news of Yaktu's situation probably hadn't spread yet. After the defeat in Bado City, they must have been planning to exploit those citizens for their own purposes. But they never expected to run into Dai Zhang's mercenary squad, falling directly into the tiger's den. With this, the counterattack against Ulan was basically settled. The citizens had been successfully rescued, and the mastermind had been captured. This was definitely a major victory. The battle at the temple progressed smoothly. By the time Dai Zhang and his group arrived in Bado City, the battle was basically over. A secret laboratory was indeed hidden in the temple, housing over 1,000 researchers and hundreds of test subjects. In addition, there were over 1,000 modified humans, but they had all been eliminated after reporting to Shen Zhenghao. Dai Zhang first arrived at the temple and ordered Ling Su to issue the retreat command. All the dung beetles were gathered in a dry riverbed at the border between the Yulakan district and the Berry district. After the army was relieved of the siege, Shen Zhenghao ordered the soldiers to pour gasoline into the riverbed with a final blaze. All the dung beetles were burned to death. Thus, the self-defense counterattack against Ulan came to a complete end. Up to now, the battle had lasted less than 2.5 days, eliminating nearly 3,000 modified humans and rescuing nearly 130,000 captured citizens. Countless mutant rabbits, ants, dung beetles, and zombies were eliminated. One enemy modified human laboratory was destroyed, crushing their sinister plot to provoke conflict between China and Russia. Finally, one of the masterminds of the incident was captured, making it a complete victory. Shen Zhenghao immediately sent a battle report back to the council. The council members were overjoyed upon learning of this result, but soon, a bucket of cold water was poured on them. Everyone, don't overlook the fact that the Huituang Business Association made the greatest contribution to this military action against Ulan. The speaker was Liu Fiaying. That iron tower was provided by the Huituang Business Association, right? The enemy deployment information in the Bado City area was provided by them, right? The citizens of Yaktu were rescued by them, right? That important prisoner was also captured by them, right? How many people did they send? 50-some people, right? Don't you realize the problem? The Huituang Business Association only sent dozens of people, but they achieved so many important victories on the battlefield. What does this say? Liu Fiaying continued. Liu Fiaying. What are you saying? Oh, they made a big contribution, and you're jealous, Zhongzhenyu retorted, "What a joke. What am I jealous of? I'm reminding everyone that the Huituang Business Association, with just a few dozen people, can rival a dozen divisions of the Northwest Military Region. If this continues, who will be able to restrain them?" Liu Fiang said, "I think you're shifting the goalposts. I've mentioned before that the situation is different now, and our previous combat methods cannot adapt to the new battlefield conditions. The fact that a dozen divisions of the Northwest Military Region didn't achieve as much as a few dozen people from the Huituang Business Association is a fact. But you can't say that the Northwest Military Region is inferior to the Huituang Business Association. These are two different concepts. I think the biggest problem lies in our combat methods. We need to look for the reasons within ourselves, and not blame others for developing too quickly," Yan Zhangping retorted. "I think Lao Yan is right. How good can the Huituang Business Association become even if it develops well? At the end of the day, it's just a privately owned organization that is responsible for its own profits and losses. Our military has the resources of the entire country to support it, and yet it's being outshone by a small business association. What does this say? It says we're lagging behind. It says we need internal reforms. I have two suggestions. First, the military and political department must be reformed. Resource allocation, weapon research and development, and tactical research are all the responsibilities of the military and political department. After so many years, they haven't produced any decent results, and instead, they've been outshone by a small business association that's only been established for less than a year. I think there must be a big problem here, so the military and political department must be reformed. Second, conduct a comprehensive and detailed analysis and summary of this self-defense counterattack against Ulan, to find out how we became passive on the battlefield, and how the enemy gained the initiative. Also, how was the Huituang Business Association's mercenary squad able to achieve so many victories with so few troops? Only by figuring out these problems can we effectively guide our future work," Suo Tunhua said. Chapter 336 Shen Wengang leaves Dark Night. Liu Fiang's face turned ashen upon hearing these words. This was another instance of shooting himself in the foot. Suo Tunhua was right. The Northwestern Military Region's battlefield defeat was indeed related to the Military Affairs Department. The Military Affairs Department provided weapons and equipment, and the department also provided plans for troop deployment, tactics, and strategies. He himself wouldn't dare say he bore no responsibility failing to handle his own affairs well, yet going to find fault with others would seem weak and unconvincing no matter how reasonable his words were. Agreed. Seeing so many counselors expressing their views, Liu Fiang was indignant but helpless. Counselor Suo's two suggestions are also very good, in my opinion. Counselor Liu, your military affairs department can copy the relevant data and materials from this campaign and arrange for an expert team to carefully observe and study them. You must analyze some tactical essentials from them to optimize our army's combat methods under the new circumstances. You should also conduct technical demonstrations on the new weapons, equipment, and technologies displayed in it. Advocate that everyone open their minds and innovate boldly, and it would be best to design some similar combat equipment, or even new equipment that can restrain the enemy's tactics, Bailiji said. Yes, Liu Fiang accepted the order. Suo Tunhua secretly curled his lips. He believed that Bailiji's arrangement was just a way to smooth things over and protect his own. How could the problems of the Military Affairs Department be solved by holding a few seminars? But Bailiji had already set the tone, so there was no need to discuss this matter any further. The following time was spent discussing the awards for this campaign. When it came to the issue of awards, everyone had disagreements on one matter, that was the issue of the Dark Knight Squad. The information reported back by He Jing, who said that the Dark Knight Squad's captain, Tiangang, was suspected of having a special relationship with the Huituang Chamber of Commerce. This made the existence of the Dark Knight Squad very awkward. Liu Fiang believed that the investigation into the Huituang Chamber of Commerce had not yielded any substantial results, which might be related to Tiangang's special identity. To put it bluntly, he suspected that Tiangang was a spy arranged by the Huituang Chamber of Commerce. However, some people also said that the possibility was not high. After all, when the Military Affairs Department took the lead in recruiting asymptomatic infected people nationwide, the Huituang Chamber of Commerce had just been established. It would not make much sense for them to arrange for personnel to infiltrate the Military Affairs Department. It would be more cost-effective to control a resettlement site. However, most people remain silent on this matter. It's better to believe it than not. How to treat the Huituang Chamber of Commerce is one thing, and how to deal with the Dark Knight Squad is another. A gentle approach can be taken towards the Huituang Chamber of Commerce in the short term, but the Dark Knight Squad must be treated with utmost caution. Therefore, the final consensus was to transfer Tian Gang and his sister Jin Luo from the Dark Knight Squad, and select an outstanding member from among them to be promoted to the new captain. In order to avoid the departure of Tian Gang and Jin Luo from affecting the entire team, the council decided to adopt a method of promotion in name but demotion in reality. Finally, after Zhuang Zhenyu's repeated efforts, he got the two of them to the southeast military region. Zhuang Zhenyu didn't care whether there was a relationship between Tian Gang and the Chamber of Commerce. He couldn't be happier if there was. In addition, Bailiji also authorized the Military Affairs Department to recruit new mutants nationwide, planning to expand the team's members from 17 to 50. After all, the performance of the Huituang Chamber of Commerce's mercenary squad in this campaign was too eye-catching. It is difficult for traditional special forces to complete current combat missions. Even the worst modified person may be stronger than a king of soldiers. Therefore, the council must have such a team. Yan Xiangping and Zhuang Zhenyu were the first to realize the great role that mutants would play in future wars, but both of them remained silent about the existence of the antigen serum. The reason was that the antigen serum involved the Huituang Chamber of Commerce and Dongfang Chen again, and if it continued, this topic would never end. The irony is that most of the domestic mutants actually came from Dongfang Chen's base. A large part of them are mercenaries and sleepers from the Mercenary Guild. There are also some students who participated in the training but were unwilling to join the base. Apart from Dongfang Chen, no one knows that anyone who walks out of the base, including sleepers or students who are unwilling to join the base, is under Dongfang Chen's monitoring. He dares to recruit a large number of students to the base for training. Naturally, there are protective methods. When they were injected with the antigen serum, they had already been implanted with micrometer-sized monitoring robots. Like the monitoring robots implanted in the bodies of Lingyu, Lingbian and other holy sons, they would reach the brain and hide after being injected into the body. Anyone who tries to leak the secrets of the base will be strangled at the first time. He doesn't want anyone to leak secrets, and he's not afraid of anyone leaking secrets. Liu Fiang is still complacent at this moment, but perhaps he will never think that after one Tian Gang leaves, several new sleepers will appear in the Dark Knight Squad. After the handling of the Dark Knight Squad was discussed, the next step was the Huituang Chamber of Commerce. The Huituang Chamber of Commerce also made great efforts and played a key role in determining the victory or defeat of the war. It would be unreasonable not to reward them, but it was really difficult to decide what to reward. Chapter 337 Excellent Non-Governmental Organization Demonstration Unit. Counselor Yan, what kind of commendation do you think would be suitable for the Huituang Chamber of Commerce? Bailiji asked. Now is the time for the Huituang Chamber of Commerce to develop. I think what is most needed is fame and talent. We might as well start from these two aspects. Yan Xiangping replied. Yan Xiangping was right, but most of the counselors did not agree. Such a reward would be equivalent to providing further assistance for them to grow bigger. Fame is naturally something to be given. Everyone, tell me, how should we give this fame? Bailiji adopted Yan Xiangping's opinion without thinking. Yan Xiangping was stunned. Why is Bailiji suddenly so agreeable? Yan Xiangping wondered. I think that since we are giving fame, let's give a big one. How about giving them the title of Model Unit of Excellent Private Organizations? Liu Fiang suggested. Yan Xiangping was stunned again. What is Liu Fiang up to? He was full of hostility towards the Huituang Chamber of Commerce just now. How could he suddenly speak up for them? I think it's good. Then it's settled. Bailiji made the decision directly, not allowing everyone to discuss it. This is so strange. Zhuang Zhenyu also frowned, feeling that there was something fishy. But he didn't understand where the trickery lay. Finally, there were the awards for the Northwest Military Region and the rewards for other military regions that cooperated in the operation. The meeting lasted until evening before it ended inside the speaker's office. Old Yan, do you have something to ask me? Bailiji walked to the sofa and sat down, asking, there is a question that I have not been able to figure out, so I came to ask you. Yan Xiangping said. Oh? Tell me, Old Yan. Bailiji said, I didn't ask for the past few days because there was a war going on. Chairman Liu of the Huituang Chamber of Commerce said that the departments under the military and political department were conducting human experiments. What is going on? Yan Xiangping asked. Old Yan, don't you know? I just returned, and there are many things that I am not very clear about. Bailiji said. No, you definitely know. Yan Xiangping said. What do you mean by this? Bailiji glared at him, a little unhappy. There is a point that doesn't add up. Yan Xiangping said. What doesn't add up? Bailey G asked sideways. The timing doesn't add up, Jens Hangping said. Then tell me, where does the timing not add up? Bailey G said, if I remember correctly, the Huaguang Institute had an accident before the virus outbreak last year, right? Jens Hangping looked at Bailey G and said, that's right, so what? Bailey G nodded and asked, according to Chairman Liu, his son was informed of his death at that time. Jens Hangping said, Old Yan, I'm really puzzled. What benefits did Chairman Liu of the Huaguang Chamber of Commerce give you that made you so concerned about his affairs? Bailey G frowned, his expression obviously very dissatisfied. I am not concerned about his affairs, I just want to ask you, what is going on with the human experiments? Jens Hangping asked, didn't I tell you? I don't know. Bailey G spread his hands impatiently and replied, no, you definitely know. Your attack was after the virus outbreak, and the Huaguang Institute had an accident before that, so it is impossible to be related to that imposter, Jens Hangping replied, which is what he meant by the timing being wrong. So what? What does the Huaguang Institute's accident have to do with human experiments? Bailey G asked. Originally, I didn't think there was any relationship, but Niu Xingwang's son works at the Huaguang Institute. May I ask why he would be used for human experiments? Jens Hangping asked. How would I know? Maybe it would be better to ask his son. Bailey G glared and said Jens Hangping didn't speak. Old Yan, I will arrange for the military and political department to investigate what happened to Niu Xingwang's son. But I can tell you very responsibly that the military and political department has absolutely not established any form of human experimentation project. Bailey G said, okay, I hope I'm just overthinking it. Jens Hangping nodded and said, August 26, 2055 AD, morning. The battle report on the use of force against Ulan was issued to various resettlement sites in the form of a public announcement. With the issuance of this announcement, the name of the Huaguang Chamber of Commerce once again became a hot topic of discussion among the people. Mr. Dongfang, does the council have any special purpose in doing this? Niu Xingwang ran to find Dongfang Chen after hearing the news. He always felt that the council would not be so kind as to help the Huaguang Chamber of Commerce build its reputation. When a tree stands out in the forest, the wind will surely destroy it. Presumably, the council wants to use this method to praise and kill the Huaguang Chamber of Commerce, Dongfang Chen said. Mr. Dongfang, I always feel that this is not the right flavor. The council's actions are not putting us on the fire to roast, but are extremely beneficial to our development. Praising and killing is not done this way, right? Niu Xingwang wondered and asked, Brother Niu, it is rare for ordinary people to maintain such a prudent attitude in the current situation where everything is so good, Dongfang Chen said with a smile. Mr. Dongfang, please don't make fun of me. Ever since I dealt with the people from the military and political department last time, I have been extremely wary of them. Niu Xingwang shook his head with a wry smile. You are right, praising and killing is not done this way. They must have a follow-up. Let's wait and see, Dongfang Chen said. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338. Can you represent us? Hu Country, Ganlin Province, Gold City, Sun, Shen Tuzheng Hao has returned from Wulan Country, a subordinate reported. Oh? So fast? What a bunch of good-for-nothings. How many days did they even last? Ling Luo mocked upon hearing the subordinate's report. The battle report says they conquered Wulan Country's capital, Bado City, in just 2.5 days, the subordinate replied. I said it before, they definitely couldn't do it this way. Hu Country has always had zero tolerance for invaders. Trying to brute force it is simply unrealistic. If you want to take Hu Country, you can only work from the inside, Ling Luo said. The sun is wise. Should we avoid the limelight next? The subordinate asked. That won't be necessary. Remember what I said? It doesn't matter how big a commotion you make, but you can't let people know we exist, Ling Luo instructed. Understood, the subordinate responded. Wulan Country border, Yakutsk City. Ling Bian waited at the train station for 3 days, and the train finally arrived. Master, Ling Bian saw his master arrive and quickly paid his respects. Ling Bian, what are you doing here? His master asked. Master, our plan failed, Ling Bian replied dejectedly. What? Failed? I arranged 3 animal legions and several thousand cyborgs for you. You couldn't even hold out for a few days. The master was furious. "Master, we underestimated whole country's strength," Ling Bian offered as an excuse. "Where's Ling Su?" The master ignored his excuse. "Junior sister, she was captured," Ling Bian said awkwardly, head lowered. "What? You're simply useless. You couldn't even protect your junior sister." The master's anger intensified. "Master, please punish me. It's all my fault, all my fault." Ling Bian knelt on the ground, hugged his master's leg, and burst into tears, his face covered in snot and tears. "What about the people you captured? Were they also rescued?" the master asked, looking at the rotting corpses lying scattered around. "Yes," Ling Bian nodded while crying. Sigh. "You're truly more than capable of spoiling things. I ask you, how did whole country know those people were being held here?" the master asked. "Master, I don't know. When I arrived here, it was already like this," Ling Bian replied. "Then how are you alright?" the master asked with disdain. "Bado City was captured, and Ling Su was caught. I secretly took a plane to get here, wanting to quickly transfer the people to North Yakutsk. But when I arrived, there were corpses everywhere, and the people had already been rescued. I've been waiting here for you to come," Ling Bian explained. He lied, not mentioning that Ling Su was captured here. Because if he said that, he wouldn't be able to hide his own capture. "Get up, what's with all the crying?" the master looked down at him and said. "Oh." Ling Bian wiped away his tears and stood up from the ground. He knew that he had passed this hurdle since the whole country people they had captured had already been rescued. There was no point in them staying. So, he took Ling Bian back on the train and returned to Kultak. August 27, 2055, 10 a.m. The heads of the 4 resettlement areas under the jurisdiction of Gold City, Ganlan Province, Sichuan Resettlement Area, Shippo Resettlement Area, Hekau Resettlement Area, and Shenjing Resettlement Area, gathered together in Hekau Ancient Town, where the Hekau Resettlement Area is located. "Everyone, I've called you here today to discuss something," Gold City Mayor Bo Qing said. In addition to serving as the mayor of Gold City, Bo Qing is also the head of the Hekau Resettlement Area. "Mayor Bo, just give us your orders, and we'll follow your arrangements." Pan Rong of Shenjing Resettlement Area flattered. The heads of the remaining 2 resettlement areas secretly glanced at him without saying a word. "Bootlicker, can you represent us?" The 2 cursed in their hearts. Bo Qing saw this scene but didn't reveal anything. Ha. Team leader Pan, you're still so impatient. This matter really needs to be discussed with you all. I can't do it alone, Bo Qing said with a smile. "Mayor Bo, what exactly is it?" Yu Bei of Sichuan Resettlement Area asked. "Then I'll be direct. We established the resettlement areas last year, dividing the people of Gold City into 4, in order to block the spread of the virus as much as possible and protect the lives and property of the people. Now the situation is different. The zombies in Gold City have all been wiped out by people from the Northwest Military Region, and everyone is wearing mosquito repellent bracelets. In this case, the virus is almost impossible to spread on a large scale again." Bo Qing paused at this point. The heads of the other 3 resettlement areas frowned, and no one said a word. Even Pan Rong, who had just been flattering, lowered his head, his eyes darting left and right. Clearly, the 3 of them smelled something was wrong. "So I plan to move the people back to Gold City." Bo Qing deliberately emphasized his idea. "What?" the 3 said in unison. "I disagree. It's too risky," Yu Bei of Sichuan Resettlement Area directly stated his position. Chapter 339, Speaking Frankly. "I also disagree. There are many buildings in the city, and the situation is complex. We have to think about the safety of the people," said Gu Kaianshan from the Shifo settlement. "Team leader Pan, what do you think?" Bo Qing asked, looking at Pan Rong. Mayor Bo, this, isn't it a bit too sudden?" Pan Rong said awkwardly. "What? Are my words as an old leader no longer effective?" Bo Qing's tone turned cold as he saw everyone's reaction. "Look at what you're saying. Your words are definitely effective. It's just too sudden. We weren't prepared at all," Pan Rong explained. "Humph. What preparation do you need? When we evacuated from the city, didn't we just leave when we were told to?" Bo Qing said. "Mayor Bo, you said it yourself. That was then. The situation is different now," Yu Bei said. "How is it different?" Bo Qing could tell that this troublemaker, Yu Bei, was preparing to oppose him. "Let's just be frank. Everyone knows now that each settlement is acting on its own. If you want to go back yourself." "My Sichuan settlement isn't going back," Yu Bei said bluntly. "Yu Bei, do you know what you're saying? Huh? You're resisting management. You don't want to be the person in charge of this settlement anymore, do you?" Bo said angrily. Bang! The sound of a table being slammed. You, Bo, don't think I don't know what you're planning. Want to snatch the settlement from me? Dream on. Yubei stood up and shouted. Good. Very good. You can get out of here. Remember, you will be responsible for what you said today, fully responsible, Bo said, pointing at him. Humph. Yubei didn't respond to him at all, turned around and slammed the door as he left. Bang! Immediately after, a gunshot came from outside. Panrong and Gu Kaienshin both shuddered at the same time. They had already guessed that Yubei had been killed. Alright, I won't waste any more words. You two state your positions. Bo leaned back in his chair and looked at the two of them. Mayor Bo, I've thought about it. I think your decision is correct, and I support it with both hands. Panrong hurriedly expressed his position. Living is more important than anything else, Mayor Bo. I also agree, Gu Kaienshin also said. That's right. We'll still be good colleagues and comrades in the future. Let's work together to build a prosperous golden city, Bo said happily. The two echoed him reluctantly, with some helplessness and bitterness showing on their faces. Mayor Bo, when shall we start? Panrong asked. Let's do it today. You each go back and mobilize as quickly as possible, and strive to complete the relocation before dark, Bo replied. Isn't that a bit tight? Gu Kaienshin said. It's not tight. Go back and tell everyone that they can choose any house in the city. First come, first served. Bo said this was too tempting for ordinary people. Alright, Gu Kaienshin nodded. How about this? The time is tight and the task is heavy. I'll arrange a few people to help you, Bo said, clapping his hands, and a dozen people came in, all carrying guns. They're all good at fighting. If you encounter anything, they can help you deal with it, Bo continued. Gu Kaienshin and Panrong understood that this was to prevent them from changing their minds after returning, and to send people to supervise them. But when you're under someone else's roof, you have to bow your head. There was no way to refuse soon. Gu Kaienshin returned to the Shifo settlement. Brother, what's going on? Gu Kaien asked, confused when he saw a group of armed people following Gu Kaienshin. Bo wants us to take people back to Golden City, Gu Kaienshin replied. What? What right does Bo have? Gu Kaien said, dissatisfied. What are you yelling about? Because he has guns. Gu Kaienshin glanced at the people behind him and said softly. Brother, what do you mean? Gu Kaien asked softly. Find a way to get rid of those people behind us, Gu Kaienshin replied quietly. Got it. Don't worry. Leave it to me, Gu Kaien said, rubbing his hands together after his brother expressed his position. Come, everyone, brothers, you've worked hard all the way. Smoke, smoke, Gu Kaien shouted, then took out a pack of cigarettes, ready to hand them out. However, these people were very cautious and no one reached out to take them. Gu Kaien had to smile awkwardly and put them back. Then, brother, I'll go out and make arrangements first, Gu Kaien shouted and left in a courtyard somewhere in the Shifo settlement. Brother, I've brought the person, a subordinate reported. Tell him to come in, Gu Kaien said. Okay. After speaking, the subordinate went out and brought the person in. Your little white dragon. Gu Kaien looked up and down at the young man in front of him, who was in his 20s. Yes, little white dragon replied. This little white dragon was the undercover Ding Yuan, and also Dai Zhang's adopted son. Real name or fake name? Gu Kaien asked with a smile. Real name, Ding Yuan replied, unsmiling, looking extremely calm. I heard you're good at fighting, Gu Kaien asked, his right leg resting on a rock. I'm alright, Ding Yuan replied. Show me a couple of moves. It's not that, brother, he looks down on you. It's just that this is a major matter, and I'm worried you'll lose your little life for nothing, Gu Kaien explained. Okay, Ding Yuan said concisely. Chapter 340. He is little white dragon. Come on out, let's give my little brother some practice, Gu Kaien shouted. Following that, a dozen or so burly men walked out of the house one after another, each looking strong and sturdy, with faces full of ferocity. Let's begin. Gu Kaien retreated to the side and commanded. The dozen or so men looked at each other, but no one made a move. Brother, isn't this a bit too much? Our brothers don't know how to hold back. What if we hurt this little brother? One of the men shouted. Just come at me together. Don't waste time, Ding Yuan said before Gu Kaien could reply. Did you all hear that? I might as well tell you, this is the famous little white dragon. Understand now, Gu Kaien said with a smile. These blockheads, still looking down on people. What? He's the little white dragon? The burly man was shocked. The little white dragon was very famous in the Stone Buddha settlement. The story of him taking on hundreds of zombies single-handedly had been spread in countless versions, and everyone knew about it. Alright, let's start, Ding Yuwen said. These dozen or so men had looked down on him just now, but now they were all starting to feel nervous, and no one dared to attack. Brothers, let's go. The burly man knew it was just a friendly spar, so he didn't hold back and shouted through gritted teeth. So the dozen or so people braced themselves and charged towards Ding Yuwen. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Ding Yuwen disappeared before everyone could react. Ding Yuwen was already weaving back and forth between them, moving at lightning speed. In no more than 5 seconds, all of a dozen or so burly men were knocked down, lying on the ground screaming and wailing. Clap, clap, clap. Gu Kaiyan applauded. Amazing. Amazing. Little white dragon, your reputation is well deserved. Are you reassured now? Ding Yuwen asked. Reassured? Absolutely reassured, Gu Kaiyan said with satisfaction. Then remember what you promised me, Ding Yuwen reminded him. Don't worry about that. Our Stone Buddha settlement needs someone like you. I'm really lucky to have you, Gu Kaiyan said, patting his chest. Good. When do we take action? Ding Yuwen asked. Let's do it now. I don't think my brother can hold on for much longer. At the same time, Gu Kaiyan was still scribbling away in his office. Team leader Gu, it's getting late. Please hurry up, a gun-wielding man reminded him sharply. The relocation of the settlement requires consideration of all aspects. How can we just start on a whim? What will we do if something goes wrong? Gu Kaiyan retorted, looking up. Team leader Gu, we'll give you a maximum of 10 more minutes. If you don't start after 10 minutes, then we won't be polite. The gun-wielding man warned. Gu Kaiyan ignored him and continued to write with his head down. He was just putting on an act, anxiously waiting for his brother to arrive. Brother, I'm here. Everything has been arranged, Gu Kaiyan shouted loudly. Gu Kaiyan was almost scared to pee when he heard him shouting so blatantly. What if these people noticed something was wrong? Wouldn't they immediately shoot him dead? Team leader Gu, since everything has been arranged, let's start now. The gun-wielding man misunderstood and said, Start what? Start your mother, Gu Kaiyan cursed directly. What did you say? The gun-wielding man asked with cold eyes. Damn your mother, what do you think you are, yelling here? Gu Kaiyan didn't restrain himself at all. Gu Kaiyan opened his mouth wide, not knowing what to say. All of this happened too fast. He didn't have time to stop it. Damn it. The gun-wielding man was enraged by the cursing and prepared to raise his gun to shoot. Bang! A loud noise. The gun-wielding man disappeared from the spot. The window shattered in response, and the man flew out. The other few people realized something was wrong and also prepared to pick up their guns. But it was too late. They couldn't react at all, and they were all knocked away. They picked up their guns again and prepared to shoot. At this time, Ding Yuwen had already arrived in front of them, and the dagger directly slashed at their wrists. Clang, clang, clang. The few people screamed, and the guns fell from their hands to the ground. Ding Yuwen didn't want to kill anyone, he just wanted to disarm them. Men, take these bandits down and guard them strictly, Gu Kaiyan shouted as he ran out of the office. After seeing that the guns in the hands of the few men had all fallen to the ground, there were some onlookers outside who didn't know what was going on. Thinking that some bandits had come to the headquarters to commit violence, and they all watched as if it was a show. It was also inappropriate to kill people directly in public, so Gu Kaiyan ordered people to take them down first. Little White Dragon, well done. From today onwards, you are the security captain of the Stone Buddha settlement. Gu Kaiyan walked up to Little White Dragon, patted him on the shoulder, and said with satisfaction, Thank you, brother. Ding Yuwen said with a smile. Oh? This young man has potential. Gu Kaiyan was even more satisfied to see Ding Yuwen actually smiling. Since Gu Kaiyan had decided to kill the people sent by Bo Qing, he had already decided to go all the way to the end. He firmly believed in a rumor. The council encourages local autonomy because there is a greater crisis behind it. Chapter 341. You can't come up. Kaiyan, Yubei of the Sichuan settlement was killed by Bo Qing. He must have sent people to take over the settlement. I mean, let's also send people over to intercept them. What do you think? Gu Kaiyan asked. Yubei's Sichuan settlement and Gu Kaiyan's Shifo settlement are both east of Golden City, while Bo Qing's Hekao settlement and Panrong's Chenjing settlement are west of Golden City. So, distance-wise, Gu Kaiyan is closer to the Sichuan settlement, and Bo Qing is farther away. Brother, what's your plan? Gu Kaiyan asked. Bo Qing is the mayor of Golden City. He can easily fabricate a crime for Yubei and rightfully take back the settlement. If we go and snatch it, we won't have a legitimate reason, and the people in the settlement won't listen to us. So, We have to come up with a story, Gu Qianshan said. That's easy. We expose Bo Qing's murder of Yu Bei and see who still listens to him, Gu Qian said. You're thinking too simply. Yu Bei's death might be welcomed by others in the settlement, as it means they have a chance to rise in the ranks. So, trying to sow discord with that might not work, Gu Qianshan said. Yeah, so what do? We can't just let that old guy Bo Qing benefit for nothing, right? Gu Qian asked. If we want to sow discord, it has to be tied to their vital interests. You do this, Gu Qianshan leaned close to Gu Qian and whispered. I think it'll work. Gu Qian agreed after listening. Good, then let's do it. Time is of the essence, so hurry and take people over there, Gu Qianshan instructed. Okay, I'll leave right away. After Gu Qian finished speaking, he left in a hurry with a little white dragon and a group of subordinates. The Sichuan settlement was only 20 kilometers away from the Shifo settlement, but because of the time wasted dealing with the people sent by Bo Qing, they were still late when Gu Qian and his group arrived. The Sichuan settlement was already holding a mobilization meeting. The staff of the settlement's temporary command team were on the high platform in the square, shouting and promoting the benefits of returning to Golden City, with a dozen men with guns standing quietly behind them clearly. This was forcing the ducks onto the rack. Folks, Mayor Bo said that as long as everyone is willing to return to Golden City, you can choose any house you want. First come, first served, the staff member said. I used to have 5 houses in Golden City. Will those houses still be mine after I go back? Someone in the audience asked loudly. The staff member was stumped and looked back at the people sent by Bo Qing for an answer. As long as everyone's property ownership certificate is still there, the house will still belong to whoever it belongs to. A staff member sent by Bo Qing stepped forward to answer. Isn't that just saying the same thing as not saying anything? If I still had the property ownership certificate, I wouldn't be asking. The person who asked the question complained. Comrade, if you don't have a property ownership certificate, how can you prove that the house is yours? If everyone did that, wouldn't it be a mess? The staff member retorted. I bought the house myself, how can it not be mine? This won't do. I don't agree, the person who asked the question stated with someone taking the lead. Others echoed, and the scene became chaotic for a while. It was also because Bo Qing was a little too anxious and didn't arrange these details properly. Bang! A gunshot rang out. The scene suddenly quieted down. Shut up. What are you arguing about? A gunman shouted. Who told you to shoot? Put the gun away. If there's a riot, can you take responsibility for it? A staff member who came with him scolded. The gunman quickly apologized and put away the gun. Folks, what I mean is that everyone should go back to the city first. After returning, everyone should go back to their own homes first and give priority to choosing their own houses. If there are any disputes in the middle, then find our headquarters to mediate. Does everyone think this will work? The staff member shouted. His real idea was to trick everyone back to the city first, regardless of the consequences. After returning, he would slowly deal with anyone who caused trouble. I don't agree, someone shouted from a distance. Everyone turned their heads to look, and the leader who shouted was leading a group of subordinates to climb onto the high platform. The person who came was Gu Qian. Stop. You can't come up, the staff member shouted without saying a word. The people behind Gu Qian raised their guns as a warning. The gunmen sent by Bo Qing also hurriedly raised their guns when they saw this scene. However, Gu Qian did not stop but continued to walk towards the center of the high platform. The two sides confronted each other, and no one dared to shoot first. Folks, let me introduce myself. I'm Gu Qian from the Shifo settlement. Gu Qianshan is my brother. I came here today to bring you all a message, but I didn't expect to be a step late, Gu Qian said loudly. Everyone looked at him, waiting for him to continue. Gu Qianshan was, after all, the leader of a settlement. Most people, even if they didn't know him, had heard of him. Today, I risked my life to come here, just to tell everyone one thing. Your settlement's team leader, Yu Bei, was shot and killed by that Bo Qing. He's a hypocrite, a heinous murderer. Everyone must not be fooled by him. Gu Qian released explosive news, and the stage immediately became chaotic. Boy, what nonsense are you talking about? Arrest him. The staff member sent by Bo Qing was shocked and hurriedly tried to stop him. Chapter 342. Let's put it aside for now. Bang, bang, bang. Ding Yuwen made his move. The people sent by Bo Qing had their wrists injured, and all their guns fell from their hands. Gu Qian's men quickly stepped forward and subdued them all. Gu Qian, do you know what you're doing? You're violating the city's orders and openly instigating your subordinates to commit violence. Even your brother will be implicated, the leading staff member shouted. Everyone, Don't panic, listen to me carefully. My brother, Gu Qianshan, was also plotted against by Bo Qing and almost lost his life in Hekao ancient town. As soon as he returned to the resettlement camp, he immediately sent me here to inform everyone of this news, because he was worried that you would be deceived. Gu Qian shouted. The crowd did not quiet down, constantly communicating with each other, saying all sorts of things. The staff members of the Sichuan resettlement camp on the stage didn't know who was telling the truth and who was lying, so they could only stand there dumbfounded and watch. Seeing this scene, Gu Qian finally realized how right his brother was. Yu Bei's death was not enough to convince the people of the resettlement camp of his words. Before I came, my brother also told me a major piece of news. He said that the mayor of Gold City, Bo Qing, is colluding with a cult. This time, he's deceiving you into going back so he can use you to feed the zombies. I, on behalf of the Shifo resettlement camp, declare on the spot that we will draw a clear line with Bo Qing and will never help him do evil. Gu Qian said pretentiously and nonsensically. You're talking nonsense. The leading staff member was about to refute when he was directly knocked unconscious with a gun. But, folks, now that our resettlement camp's leader has been killed, this place is no longer safe. Now, listen to my orders. Those who are willing to go to the Shifo resettlement camp, please move to the left. Those who want to go to Gold City, stay where you are and wait for orders. Time is limited, everyone, act quickly. Gu Qian winked at a staff member from the original resettlement camp, and that staff member stepped forward and shouted. Everyone looked at each other, hesitant and indecisive, and only a small number of people moved to the left. The other management personnel of the resettlement camp looked at each other, not knowing how to choose for a moment. Everyone, I've made my words very clear. If you're willing to go to Gold City to feed the zombies, I won't force you. But as the saying goes, many hands make light work. If you want to fight against Bo Qing, you also need everyone's cooperation. If you're not united, there's only a dead end. Think about it yourselves. Gu Qian walked up to the staff members and reasoned with them, appealing to their emotions. Did leader you really die? A staff member asked cautiously. Is there any falsehood to that? If my brother hadn't pretended to compromise, he would already be dead in Hekao. Gu Qian confirmed. Okay, we'll go to Shifo with you. The staff member made up his mind. Gu Qian lied that Bo Qing was colluding with a cult, and coupled with the fact that everyone was still wary of returning to the city, this led to the fact that everyone actually had no choice. If they didn't go to Shifo, they could only wait for death. Since there was no choice, then clearly stating their position might lead to being valued after arriving in Shifo. If they were still hesitant at this time, they might not even have the chance to drink soup. Persuading these resettlement camp staff members was equivalent to taking down the entire resettlement camp. With the joint efforts of the staff members, the people began to gradually move towards Shifo. After leaving the Hekao resettlement camp, Pan Rong found an opportunity to escape along the way. Fortunately, his Chenjing resettlement camp was less than 20 kilometers away from the Hekao resettlement camp. He walked on foot and finally returned safely in the afternoon. However, it was all too late. After learning that Pan Rong had escaped, Bo Qing had already appointed a new person in charge and completely taken over the resettlement camp. Originally, his subordinates were not very convinced of him, and at this moment, with a change of leadership, few people objected. In this way, Pan Rong's power was easily deprived, and even he was arrested the moment he arrived at the resettlement camp. After learning that Yu Bei's Sichuan resettlement camp had been intercepted by Gu Qianshan midway, Bo Qing was extremely angry. However, the most important thing at the moment was to move the people from the Hekao and Chenjing resettlement camps back to Gold City, and the matter of dealing with Gu Qianshan could only be put aside for the time being. 9 a.m., August 28, 2055 AD. Binjiang City, headquarters of the Huituang Chamber of Commerce. Today, many people came to the Chamber of Commerce. The joint investigation team, composed of personnel drawn from the Civil Affairs Department, the Military Affairs Department, the Finance Department, the Energy Department, the Culture Department, and the Land Administration Department, came uninvited. The leader was Jing Chang, a member of the council and the director of the Culture Department. The entire investigation team consisted of more than 60 people. After receiving the news, Niu Xingwang came out to greet them in person. You must be President Niu Xingwang, right? I've heard so much about you. I'm here on short notice today. I hope you don't mind. Jing Chang showed a kind smile on his face, gentle and refined. After seeing Niu Xingwang, he took the initiative to shake hands. Jing Chang was almost 70 years old, with gray hair. May I ask who you are? Niu Xingwang asked, not knowing who the person was. Oh, let me introduce myself. My name is Jing Chang. and I am currently serving as the director of the culture department, Jing Cheng introduced. Oh. So it's Counselor Jing, my respects, my respects. Seeing that Jing Cheng was in such a high position and still so polite, Niu Xingwang bent over and shook hands cordially. Chapter 343 Establishment of the Supervisory Group. Councilman Jing, what brings you here today with all these people? Niu Xingwang asked. Oh, I'm here on several missions this time. But the main thing is to bring people from relevant departments to learn and gain experience, Jing Cheng explained. Councilman Jing, you're too kind. We're just amateurs, doing small things. There's nothing worth learning, Niu Xingwang replied. Hey. Chairman Niu is too modest. The Huatuang Chamber of Commerce was a dark horse in the self-defense counterattack against Ulan a few days ago. One of my important tasks is to present you with the Excellent Private Organization Demonstration Unit Honorary Certificate jointly issued by the Military and Political Department, the Civil Affairs Department, and the Finance Department, Jing Cheng said with a smile. Oh. The Huatuang Chamber of Commerce is truly honored, Niu Xingwang said with emotion, but he was already starting to feel uneasy. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. He was just wondering what kind of follow-up move the council would make, and here it is. Then Chairman Niu, please arrange for us to hold the certificate awarding ceremony first, Jing Cheng said. Okay. Zia Ogu, take the leaders to rest first, Niu Xingwang instructed Gu Qingyi, and then left. The entire certificate awarding ceremony was relatively simple. The main process was taking posed photos. Chairman Niu, next we'll discuss the establishment of the Huatuang Business School, Jing Cheng said after everyone entered the conference room and sat down. Councilman Jing, what is the final opinion of the council? Niu Xingwang asked. Chairman Niu, the council has approved your application for establishment and agreed to transfer a total of 120 expert professors in related fields. It should be noted here that these 120 people include the 60 people transferred last time, Jing Cheng said. Thank you, Niu Xingwang said happily. These are the relevant procedures, please keep them safe. Jing Cheng handed over a file bag. Okay, Niu Xingwang politely took the file bag. Opening the bag, inside was an authorization document stamped with a red seal of the Ministry of Culture. In addition, there were several newly made seals. You've really thought of everything, Niu Xingwang complimented. To be honest, Chairman Niu, what you are doing is also equivalent to solving the employment problem for some professors. I should thank you, Jing Cheng said. Oh, by the way, Councilman Jing, I have something else to discuss with you, Niu Xingwang said. Chairman Niu, please speak, Jing Cheng gestured. It's like this, I don't think it's very convenient for these experts to work here for a long time, Niu Xingwang said. I don't quite understand what Chairman Niu means. Jing Cheng frowned. He thought Niu Xingwang was not planning to accept those professors. Oh, Councilman Jing, don't misunderstand. What I mean is that it might be better if the experts could bring their families here, Niu Xingwang said. Oh, so that's what you mean. I think it's a good idea. It's just that doing so will increase your costs quite a bit, Jing Cheng understood. As long as Councilman Jing agrees, I will take care of the other matters, Niu Xingwang said. Okay. Then let's do it that way, Jing Cheng nodded. There's one more thing, Jing Cheng said. Councilman Jing, please speak. According to the provisions of the Hua Nation economic law, private enterprises that receive national-level recognition should establish a supervisory team within 30 days from the date of recognition. The number of members of the supervisory team depends on the overall size of the enterprise, but should not be less than 5 people, Jing Cheng said. I bet this is their follow-up move. First give a good reputation, and then take this opportunity to install people in the Chamber of Commerce. And this is a blatant way to force people in, Niu Xingwang thought. Chairman Niu, what are your thoughts on this? Jing Cheng asked. Councilman Jing, the economy of Hua Nation no longer exists. Does this economic law still apply? Niu Xingwang said as euphemistically as possible. The other researchers listening in began to whisper to each other. Most people thought that Niu Xingwang's words were a bit too much. Chairman Niu, the council has not issued a document to prohibit the economic law, so of course it applies, Jing Cheng replied. Then how many supervisors does the council require to be established? Niu Xingwang asked. Well, these people I brought, a total of 62 people, Jing Cheng pointed to the people listening in. 62 people? That's too many, right? Niu Xingwang was a little dumbfounded. With this bunch of people wandering around the base every day, it wouldn't be very convenient to do many things. Not many. The number is what we calculated, Jing Cheng said. Councilman Jing, you also know that private enterprises like us are responsible for our own profits and losses. Now that so many people are being arranged all at once, the pressure on us is really great, Niu Xingwang said. Not really. As far as I know, the 20 Chamber of Commerce branches alone have recruited no less than 10,000 employees, right? I hope Chairman Niu is clear that there is no room for negotiation on the establishment of the supervisory team, Jing Cheng said. Since that's the case, then we will definitely actively cooperate, Niu Xingwang replied, but he was already extremely depressed. This demonstration unit is not a good thing at all, it's simply a curse. Chapter 344, Dongfang for further development. Haha, that's why Chairman Niu's awareness is so high. Establishing a supervisory team is actually very helpful for the development of the enterprise. It is very beneficial to the country, the enterprise, and the individual, Jing Cheng said happily when he saw Niu Xingwang agree this was the most troublesome task for him, and he felt very unsure before coming. In the past, if a private enterprise could obtain national-level honors, it would definitely be a great thing. In comparison, establishing a supervisory team within the enterprise was not a problem at all, and the enterprise had no reason to refuse, but the situation is different now. In the past 2 days, Jing Cheng didn't know how many situations he had hypothesized in his mind, and how many talking points he had conceived, but the result was completely useless. He didn't expect things to progress so smoothly, without him having to waste any words. Counselor Jing, you flatter me. This is the first time I've come into contact with this matter. I hope you can introduce how to set up the supervisory team, Niu Xingwang said. Okay, then I'll give a brief introduction. The supervisory team can be understood as an independent department, except that this department is managed by the government and is not subject to the internal regulations of the Chamber of Commerce. Then you may have concerns about whether the existence of the supervisory team will affect the normal business of the Chamber of Commerce. You don't have to worry about this. According to the China economic law, the supervisory team established within the enterprise shall not interfere with the normal operation and management of the enterprise, and only evaluate the compliance of various businesses. You can understand this as a mirror for the standardization of the enterprise. With this mirror, the enterprise can develop better and become bigger. Jing Cheng introduced. Perhaps in the past, the supervisory team could indeed help large enterprises achieve standardized management, but now it is actually useless. Why is it useless? Because the macro environment is missing. It's like discussing rice planting techniques in the desert, which is completely meaningless. Therefore, the Parliament's mandatory establishment of a supervisory team in the Chamber of Commerce must have other purposes. These purposes are nothing more than the following two. First, the role of supervision and constraint is to prevent the Chamber of Commerce from developing excessively and losing control, or doing things that harm the interests of China. Second, to explore intelligence and understand the internal situation of the Chamber of Commerce in a timely manner. Before Jing Cheng came to Binjiang, biology specifically talked to him, emphasizing the importance of establishing a supervisory team in the Huituang Chamber of Commerce. Letting him lead the team is also because he feels that he is more gentle in handling things, and the possibility of friction between the two parties is relatively small. Although Jing Cheng's remarks just now were very insincere, he still bit the bullet and finished speaking for the sake of the overall situation. Yes, old Jing, I understand when you say that. Since I don't participate in the internal management of the Chamber of Commerce, I have no problem, Niu Xingwang nodded in response, indicating that he fully understood. The reason why Niu Xingwang was able to agree so readily was because Dongfang Chen agreed. Because Jing Cheng and his party came too suddenly, Niu Xingwang had no time to discuss with Dongfang Chen, so the entire negotiation process was shared with him. When talking about the supervisory team, Dongfang Chen only replied with 2 words, agreed. So there was no need for Jing Cheng to talk nonsense, and Niu Xingwang simply agreed. The reason why Dongfang Chen agreed is that, on the one hand, there are not too many core secrets in the Chamber of Commerce. For now, the most important issues are the whereabouts of the crystal cores and the source of the goods. The daily work of the Chamber of Commerce is production, logistics, sales, training, and settlement. They are welcome to watch if they want to. Anyway, it's not the first time to let people watch. On the other hand, the existence of this supervisory team is actually a favorable wind for the further development of the Chamber of Commerce. Why do you say that? Because with a supervisory team, the Parliament will be much more at ease, and the resistance to the development of the Chamber of Commerce will be much smaller. Next were some specific work arrangements, including the supervisory team's preliminary business research, division of labor, etc. The meeting lasted until after 4 p.m. On the same day, Gir County in the Nari area of westernmost Tibet province, this is the border between China and India and Pakistan. After more than 10 days of crawling, the giant scorpion swarm arrived here from Rajasthan, India and Pakistan. Here, the altitude exceeds 4,000 meters, and the area is sparsely populated. Gir County has a small population and has only established one resettlement site, Gir Resettlement Site. And this resettlement site is located in the county seat. Although it is nominally a resettlement site, the daily life of the people is no different from before the virus did not spread here. The giant scorpion swarm stopped advancing 5 kilometers southwest of the county seat. Among them, the largest scorpion leading the way suddenly raised its tail high, and the barb on the tip of the tail emitted a dazzling blue light. A minute later, the blue light disappeared. Squeak! The leading scorpion made a harsh sound, similar to a knife scratching glass. Afterwards, these scorpions began to dig holes as if they had received an order and burrowed into the ground. It seems that they have no intention of attacking the county seat. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 345. The box contains a gun. Liaoshen Province, Andong City, urban area. Andong City is located in the easternmost part of Liaoshen Province, bordering Korea. Good heavens, to think I'd see such an antique these days. Spare the useless chatter. Is it going to work or not? Mayurk, how can you say that? We make our living doing this. Failure is not an option. Mayurk Xin, mayor of Andong City, head of the Andong City 5 Dragons Mountain Resettlement Area. Stop being glib, get it done quickly. Mayurk urged. All right. You guys, come with me. The man waved and called to the people behind him. Before them was a train. An old-fashioned train that required burning coal. This train had more than a dozen carriages, all black carriages used for hauling goods. The glib-tongued man from earlier was named Shuangfei, a train driver. However, he was no ordinary train driver. His father and his grandfather were both train drivers. Under the influence of his family, Shuangfei had shown a strong interest in trains since he was a child. He once bragged that there wasn't an old-fashioned train he couldn't drive. Xin had called him here this time to try and start this train. When Shuangfei saw the train, he was happier than seeing his wife. He went up and down, climbed on top of the train, and then crawled under it, as if he was studying it, or perhaps checking for problems. The others were arranged by him to find coal. Coal is a very common thing in the northeast region. Every household needs it for heating, so there are many coal yards that stockpile it. Mayurk, something's not right, Shuangfei said to Xin after looking at it for half an hour. What's not right? Xin asked. This train wasn't made in our whole country, Shuangfei said. Indeed, it wasn't made in our country. What, can't you handle it? Xin asked. Are you kidding? Is there anything Shuangfei, can't handle? I was just curious and asked, Shuangfei quipped. Good if you can handle it. Hurry up, we must drive the train back to the resettlement area before dark, Xin replied. All right, leave it to me. Mayurk, why don't you arrange for everyone to find coal? Many hands make light work. Shuangfei directly made a request to Xin. He had brought dozens of people with him this time, all resting in place not far away. Is there no coal on the train? Xin asked. There is, but not enough. The little bit left probably won't even heat up the boiler, Shuangfei replied. All right, Xin agreed. The coal was found quickly. Fortunately, they had driven a truck over when they came. Otherwise, transporting the coal would not have been an easy task. With the joint efforts of dozens of security team members, a truckload of coal was brought back in half an hour. In the next half hour, Shuangfei lit the fire, and the boiler finally boiled. The train finally started. Xin assigned 3 people to Shuangfei to do the physical work, adding coal to the furnace. Shuangfei only needed to guide them from the side. The others followed Xin and returned to the 5 Dragons Mountain Resettlement Area ahead of time. The 5 Dragons Mountain Resettlement Area is not far from the city. Although the train was very slow, it arrived in 2 hours. There was an abandoned train station here, and Xin was waiting on the platform overgrown with weeds. Mayurk, you even specially waited for me at the station. I'm so touched. After the train arrived, Shuangfei got off the train and was deeply moved when he saw Xin standing not far away. You're thinking too much, I'm waiting for the goods. Xin glanced at him and replied. It doesn't matter, in my opinion, it's the same thing, Shuangfei replied with a smile. Alright, your mission is complete. Go back and rest. I'll call you next time the train departs, Xin instructed. It's okay, Mayurk, I'm not tired. Xiaolin shook his head. Go back. Xin glanced at him again. Oh, Xiaolin realized that Xin seemed unhappy, and he didn't dare to be glib anymore, and hurriedly slipped away. Go call them over and start unloading the train, Xin said to the security captain next to him. Yes, the security captain accepted the order and left soon. About 1,000 security team members entered the station in neat rows under the arrangement of the security captain. Everyone opened the doors of the train carriages and moved the heavy wooden boxes one by one from the train. Open it. Xin walked to a wooden box and ordered the transporting security team member. Yes, the security team member accepted the order and pried open the box. The few people who saw the contents inside collectively sucked in a cold breath. The boxes were full of wood shavings, and wrapped in the wood shavings were guns. The boxes in front of them were filled with K8 assault rifles. Xin took out a gun, gestured with it, tested the feel, tested the aiming, and put it back. There were no bullets in the gun, so it couldn't be fired. Chapter 346. The young man on a killing spree. The other security team members who were still working stopped what they were doing and all came over when they saw this scene. Everyone, don't be envious. After the inventory is completed, I will distribute one to each of you. Now, everyone, hurry up and unload the goods and transport them back to the resettlement area. We'll talk about the other things when we get back to the resettlement area, Xin said loudly. Anyway, everyone will know what's in these boxes sooner or later. So Xin simply stated it directly. Yes, the security team members shouted. Who wouldn't want to get their own gun? In this world, having a gun is the only way to protect yourself and your family well. So everyone was excited when they heard Xin's words. No one knew where Xin got so many weapons, but it didn't matter. The mayor is the mayor, and his connections are wide. It wasn't until dark that all the goods from the dozen or so carriages were transported back to the resettlement area's warehouse. Xin distributed weapons to everyone in the resettlement area that night. Wanwei Province, Luxiao City, Chaohu Resettlement Area. August 30th, 2055, 8:30 a.m. A young man, covered in blood, walked down the street with a girl's corpse in his arms, his eyes blank. Many people on both sides of the road stopped to watch, asking each other and discussing, all wanting to know who this young man was and what had happened, but many people were shaking their heads. Obviously, no one knew what had happened. The young man walked slowly, step by step. Soon a team of patrolling security guards walked over. Stop. Who are you? Who are you carrying in your arms? The leading security guard asked. The young man did not answer, nor did he stop, and continued to walk forward. Stop. Did you hear me? If you don't stop, don't blame us for being impolite. The leading security guard's tone became more severe. The young man still ignored him. You guys go over there and restrain him, the leading security guard said to the people around him. Several people were a little nervous, and no one dared to step forward. The blood on the young man's body was telling them that it was best not to provoke him in the resettlement area. The position of security guard was a popular one, and many people got in through connections, so it was normal for their professional skills to be lacking. Look at you cowards, what kind of security guards are you? The leading security guard scolded, and after speaking, he walked towards the young man himself. Hey kid. Are you deaf? I told you to stop, did you hear me? He shouted loudly as he walked forward. But just as the security guard walked in front of the young man, an accident happened. When the young man saw someone blocking his way, he raised his foot without saying a word and kicked him directly in the calf. This kick was very powerful, and the security guard lost his balance and fell to the ground, landing face first in the dirt. The security guard shouted. The young man stepped forward and directly stepped on his head. The ground sunken in, and his head was directly stepped into the pit. Crack! A sound of bone cracking came out. The young man acted as if nothing had happened, without even blinking an eye, and continued to walk forward. The scene was abnormally quiet. The onlookers on the roadside were frightened by this scene and stood there dumbfounded. The other security guards were also in a brief daze. After 5 seconds, the women started screaming first, murder. More people shouted. No one dared to watch the excitement anymore, and they all ran away in fright. Several security guards had also recovered and were constantly retreating, but no one dared to come forward. The young man didn't chase, nor did he attack proactively, and continued to walk forward step by step. Soon more security guards learned of the news and rushed over. Some regular security guards from the police division had guns in their hands. They raised their guns and stood in a row facing the young man. The person in front, listen up. Immediately put down the corpse in your hand, put your hands on your head and squat on the ground. If you move forward again, we will shoot. The young man ignored him. Bang! A gunshot rang out. A bullet mark appeared on the ground in front of the young man. This was a warning to him. This time, The young man stopped. He slowly bent down and gently placed the girl's body on the ground. You rest here for a while, I'll be right back, the young man said gently. Put your hands on your head and squat on the ground. The security guard thought the young man would cooperate, so he continued to guide him. The young man didn't listen to him, but stood up, moved his wrists, and glanced around. Squat down immediately. Put your hands on your head. The security guard nervously raised his gun and reminded him again. The corners of the young man's mouth turned up slightly, revealing a strange smile. Whoosh! A short and sharp sound of air being torn. Everyone's eyes blurred, and this young man had already arrived in front of the security guard who had just spoken. Crack! The sound of bones breaking. The young man crushed his neck with one hand. Whoosh! Another sound of air being torn. Bang! Another security guard's chest was pierced by a punch, blood splattering everywhere. Whoosh! 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 The young man kept moving in the crowd, and one security guard after another fell down. The surviving team members looked around, but they couldn't lock onto the young man's position. If they couldn't lock onto his position, there was no way to shoot. In less than a minute, all the armed team members had been killed. The remaining people were simply terrified. They didn't understand what kind of monster this was. How could you be so powerful, you bunch of beasts? Damn it. You all deserve to die. The young man approached them step by step, gnashing his teeth as he spoke. Chapter 347 saves me from looking for you. Run, a team member shouted, then turned and ran. This shout broke the others, and they all scrambled to escape. The young man didn't chase, but turned back to the dead woman, picked her up, and continued walking forward. By the time he reached the temporary headquarters of the settlement, the doorway was filled with people. They were all holding guns. These must have been the security team members who had escaped and brought back the news. The young man didn't approach further, but walked to the steps under the eaves on the side and gently laid the woman's body down again. Man, just watch here, I'll avenge you right away, the young man said gently, smoothing her messy hair. The armed security team members didn't say anything, just stood there with their guns raised, watching him. The man stood up and walked step by step towards the team members. Who is Lu Liangji? Step forward, the young man said calmly. The team members looked at each other, but no one spoke. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the young man appeared in front of a security team member and grabbed his collar. You speak, the young man said. I. The security team member was so frightened that he couldn't speak. Crack! His neck was twisted. Thud! The body was thrown on the ground. Bang! 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 The other security team members hurriedly opened fire. Whoosh! The young man had already disappeared from the spot as the gunshots rang out. You speak. The young man had somehow grabbed another person. Is this team member strained to look towards the security room at the entrance of the command department. The young man followed his gaze and immediately locked onto the location. He dragged the security team member towards the security room, and the others not only didn't shoot, but also made way for him. It seemed that this man named Lu Liangji was quite the menace. The young man didn't let his guard down, still carefully observing every move around him as he walked forward. You bunch of trash, attack him. Damn it. Stop him for me. Lu Liangji had been observing every move outside through the window. When he saw everyone making way, he immediately lost his composure and cursed loudly inside. But the security team members were unmoved, and no one stepped forward. I'm telling you, if I die, none of you will survive. Lu Liangji threatened. This sentence clearly had an effect, and the team members began to hesitate, panicking. Whoosh! Knowing that Lu Liangji was hiding inside, the young man instantly broke through the door and entered the security room. Let me go, let me go. You trash, if my dad finds out, he definitely won't let you off, Lu Liangji shouted in the room, apparently grabbed by the young man. Soon, the young man walked out of the room, holding him by the scruff of his neck. You effing let me go. Dad, help. Dad, come and save me, he shouted loudly as he was dragged forward. The young man was unmoved, dragging him all the way to the girl's body. Do you recognize her? The young man asked. I don't recognize her. I don't recognize her. Lu Liangji shook his head frantically. Crack! The young man kicked him in the back of the knee, breaking his leg, and he knelt on the ground with a thud. Lu Liangji shouted in pain. I'll ask you one more time, do you recognize her? The young man asked furiously. You effing, kill me if you have the guts, Lu Liangji retorted stubbornly, enduring the pain. Who's causing trouble here? Someone shouted loudly. At this moment everyone looked towards the entrance of the command department. Dad, I'm here, come and save me. Lu Liangji seemed to have found a savior upon hearing this voice. The person was Lu Liangji's father. Lu Liangji? Who are you? Let him go. Lu Liren hurriedly ran over upon hearing his son's cry. You came just in time, saving me the trouble of finding you." The young man glanced at him and said, "What are you all standing there for? Arrest him." Luliren scolded the security team members on both sides. "No one move, or don't blame me for being impolite," the young man warned. "Young man, no matter what happened, we can sit down and talk. You must calm down." Seeing that the young man was about to attack Luliangji, Luliren hurriedly changed his tone. "I'll ask you one last time, do you recognize her?" Ignoring Luliren's words, the young man grabbed Luliangji's collar hard and asked through gritted teeth, "Ha ha ha ha, I recognize her, of course I recognize her. What? You want to avenge her? I'm telling you, if you kill me, you won't survive either." With his father backing him up, Luliangji's courage grew. "Was it you who killed her?" the young man asked. "That's right, it was me. Isn't she just a woman? I have plenty of them. Want me to find you two to keep you company?" Ha ha ha, Luliangji was extremely arrogant. Chapter 348. The Lu family father and son were killed. "That's right, it's me. So what if it's just a woman? I've got plenty. Want me to find you two to keep you company?" Ha ha ha, Luliangji was extremely arrogant. Bang! The young man was enraged and directly slammed his head into the ground, forcing him to kowtow. Luliangji's head and nose made intimate contact with the ground, causing him to bleed profusely and scream in pain because his head was held down. He could only thrash wildly with his hands, but to no avail. "Stop! Stop it!" Luliren shouted in distress. His son had never suffered such serious injuries since he was a child. How could he not feel pain? "Manayan, I've brought the people to you. May you rest in peace." Tears welled up in the young man's eyes. Bang! The young man lifted his head and slammed it back onto the ground. This was the second kowtow. Luliangji screamed in pain, blood flowing all over the ground. "Young man, I beg you, let him go. Whatever conditions you have, just name them. I'll agree to everything." Luliren pleaded. His son was suffering, and he was anxious and burning with worry. Bang! The third kowtow. The young man was strong, and after 3 kowtows, the person was already dizzy and disoriented. A large pool of blood had already flowed on the ground. Luliangji's head was pressed to the ground, struggling weakly. "Manayan, sleep well. Don't worry, I won't let any of those who hurt you get away." The young man's cheeks were already wet with tears. He said softly, as if afraid of waking her. After speaking, he lifted Luliangji's head one last time, preparing to slam it down again. "No!" Luliren shouted with wide eyes. He was afraid that with this one kowtow, his son would lose his life on the spot. The young man seemed not to have heard. He used all his strength and slammed Luliangji's head into the ground again. Bang! This time the force was great, and even the bluestone bricks on the ground shattered. As a result, Luliangji's head was like a shattered watermelon. His skull was crushed, and blood mixed with thick pulp gushed out. The young man's hands and body were completely stained red. "Liangji!" Luliren shouted, "Are you all dead? Get them! Arrest him!" Luliren shouted again at the security guards beside him. Still, no one moved. Luliangji was dead, beyond dead. The young man let go, stood up, and turned to look at Luliren. Luliren saw this blood-covered face and shuddered in fear. "Get him! Hurry! All of you, get him!" Luliren was frightened, retreating backward while giving orders. Whoosh! The young man teleported in front of Luliren. Luliren was startled and fell to the ground with a thud because he was so frightened. His hands and feet no longer obeyed his commands. "As the person in charge of the resettlement area, you actually indulge your son in evil deeds and harm the people. You deserve to die too," the young man said. No, no, no." Luliren was too frightened to speak. Bang! The young man kicked him. Luliren was kicked away and slid on the ground, crashing into the steps at the entrance of the command department. Whoosh! The young man teleported in front of him again. Let me go!" Luliren pleaded weakly. The young man did not answer, raising his foot and stomping down hard. Crack! His sternum shattered, and Luliren died. Clatter, clatter, clatter. The security guards, seeing that Luliren was dead, threw their weapons to the ground one after another. The young man turned to look at them. Everyone lowered their heads. No one dared to meet his eyes. The young man walked in front of everyone and said, "Who followed Luliangji last night? Stand out." The crowd looked at each other, but no one stood out. "Brother, I know who followed him." An older member of the team spoke up. "Who?" The young man's eyes lit up a little, and he quickly asked, "Wu Yike and Sui De Liu, take me to find them." The young man said, "Brother, no need for you to go yourself. I'll take a few people to bring them over to you." The team member volunteered. The young man did not answer. "Don't worry, we won't run away. We've hated these people to the bone for a long time, but before, Xiaolin was in a high position and had great power, and there was nothing we could do. Now that Xiaolin is dead, these petty people can no longer take advantage of his power." The team member knew why the young man was hesitating, and explained, "Then I'll leave it to you." The young man nodded, gladly. The team member also nodded firmly. "Brothers, grab your weapons and come with me to arrest them." The team member shouted loudly. There were many who hated them, and now that someone had taken the lead, the remaining team members picked up their weapons one after another and followed. Half an hour later, the team members escorted 2 people back. "Let me go. You bunch of dogs, you're simply audacious." One person was being dragged forward while cursing. "Stop talking nonsense, move." A team member slapped him upside the head and kicked him. "Brother, I've brought the people to you." The leading team member approached and said, "Do you recognize her?" The young man had already carried the woman's body to the steps at the main entrance of the command department. Chapter 349, It's Better to Replace. "Isn't that Su Manayan?" "Of course, I know her." "What, are you her boyfriend?" Wu Yike didn't show a hint of fear. He was fearless because he didn't yet know that Xiaolin and his son, Lu Liangji, had already been killed. "I advise you to release us both quickly, or you won't have a good time when young Master Lu finds out." Sui Dahlia threatened. "Did Manayan's incident have anything to do with you?" the young man asked. The two exchanged a glance. "Ha ha ha!" They both burst out laughing at the same time. "What are you laughing at?" The young man's eyes turned gloomy. "Tisk, tisk, tisk, Manayan, you call her so affectionately. What, are you two having an affair?" Sui Dahlia asked. "I'll ask you one more time, did it have anything to do with you?" The young man clenched his fists tightly, his eyes flashing fiercely. "Yes. More than that, I was the one who took young Master Lu there last night," Wu Yike said without any hesitation. Hey, hey. What are you talking about? Wasn't it me? If I hadn't found out where she lived, how could you have led the way?" Sui Dahlia retorted. The two of them were arguing over who deserved the credit, completely ignoring the young man's anger in their eyes. Everyone present was an ant that could be crushed at will. Just as the two were bickering, the young man suddenly grabbed both of their necks with his hands and leaped up. As he fell, he directly slammed their heads into the ground. Thud, thud, 2 muffled sounds echoed, and 2 craters appeared on the ground. The 2 men's heads were already embedded in the earth. Damn! 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 The young man unleashed his fists, repeatedly smashing them into the 2 men's heads. Each time he smashed, he shouted, "Damn!" He only stopped when the 2 men's skulls were completely smashed into pulp. He stood up, took a deep breath, and walked towards the person who had revealed the information earlier. This slightly older team member was nervously breaking out in a cold sweat. "Thank you," the young man said calmly. "And no problem," the team member stuttered, terrified. "Could you help me fetch a basin of water?" the young man said. Oh, okay. I'll go get it right away." The team member was stunned for a moment before he came to his senses. Soon, a large basin of water was brought over. The young man took off his blood-stained clothes and used the water to clean the bloodstains from his body. Then, he returned to the woman, picked her up, and prepared to leave. "Brother," the team member from before mustered his courage and called out. "What is it?" the young man asked. "And nothing. I want to follow you," the team member said nervously, his words jumbled. "Follow me." The young man frowned. "That's right. Now that Xiaolin is dead, the Chaohu settlement is likely to fall into chaos. What I mean is, since you've taken action, why not take his place?" the team member said. "Take his place?" The young man hadn't considered this question. "Yes. I agree too. Big brother, if the settlement falls into chaos, countless people will suffer." "Yes, that's right. I agree too." One after another, many people stood up, wanting to persuade the young man to take over the settlement. "I'll think about it. Right now, I want to bury Manayan first." The young man didn't immediately agree. "We'll help you." The older team member nodded. After speaking, he began to make arrangements, finding a burial site, finding a coffin, setting up a mourning tent, performing rituals. In short, everything they could find was found. People heard that this young hero had eliminated Xiaolin, and they volunteered to help. The entire settlement suddenly became active, perhaps because they had been tormented by the Lu family for too long. Manayan's funeral had become a grand event that the entire settlement hadn't seen in a long time. After the funeral ended, the security team members didn't leave. They stayed behind the young man, waiting for his decision. "What are you doing?" The young man was a little speechless. He was in a bad mood and just wanted to be alone, but these people were worried that the young man would leave without saying goodbye, so they refused to leave his side. "Brother, How have you considered it? The leading security team member asked. How about this? I'll go see someone first, and I'll give you an answer after I've met them. The young man said. The team member was very embarrassed. He was worried that after the young man left alone, he wouldn't be able to find him again. But if he suggested sending 2 people to follow him, it would be like treating him like a prisoner, which wouldn't be appropriate. Don't worry, Manine is here, I'm not going anywhere, the young man said. Alright, the team member relented. You guys wait in the command post, I'll be back soon, the young man said. Okay, master. The young man arrived at a remote thatched cottage in Cheohu, knelt down, and kowtowed. Zhenping, how many times have I told you, I'm not your master, and you don't need to come looking for me again, the person in the thatched cottage said, his tone filled with great resentment. Master, are you still angry with me? The young man asked with a bitter expression. HMPH. I don't have that qualification, master, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have gone to Benjiang with Manine without listening to you, the young man said, tears streaming down his face uncontrollably. Something happened to Manine, the person in the thatched cottage quickly asked. Manine, she was killed by that bastard Lu Liangji? The young man could no longer hold back and burst into tears. Chapter 350 Wulongshan Mutiny. What? The person inside the thatched hut instantly came out. It turned out that he was also an infiltrator. He was Ji Hongfei, who once rented a warehouse to Dongfang Chen, now codenamed Gigu. This young man is named Liu Zhenping. Master, it's all my fault. I didn't protect Manine well. Liu Zhenping was overwhelmed with grief and regret. He pressed his head to the ground, crying his heart out. Perhaps only here with his master could he show his vulnerable side without any reservation. What are you crying for? Look at your pathetic self. Go, bring the person to me, Ji Hongfei roared, scolding him for being hopeless. Master, they have already been killed by me, Liu Zhenping replied. Ji Hongfei took a deep breath, calming himself down. Alice. Get up, he sighed and said. Master, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Liu Zhenping didn't get up. It's just this one thing about you, so stubborn. Once you've made up your mind, 10 bulls couldn't pull you back. You don't need to say sorry to me. I don't want to hear it either. Get lost. Ji Hongfei couldn't persuade him, and was too lazy to say anything more. Turning around and re-entering the thatched hut, Liu Zhenping was already a little annoyed when he didn't listen to his advice and didn't let Su Manine go to the Benjian base for training together. Liu Zhenping believed that he had the ability to protect her and that there was no need for her to suffer this hardship. This led to her having no ability to protect herself when encountering danger, so Su Manine's death was half his fault. Later, after the training ended, Liu Zhenping again didn't listen to Ji Hongfei's advice and didn't strive to stay at the base. Instead, he chose to return to the Cheohu resettlement, which made Ji Hongfei even more annoyed. He was headstrong, lacked ambition, and was unmotivated, only wanting to marry Su Manine, have children, and live a simple life. Therefore, Ji Hongfei had been angry with him for some time and didn't bother to pay attention to him. Everyone has their own choices, and no one can control them, but similarly, everyone has to pay for their choices, no matter how great the price. Master, now that there is no one in charge of the Cheohu resettlement, the security team wants me to take over. Zhenping would like to hear your opinion. Although Ji Hongfei had entered the house, Liu Zhenping was still kneeling in place. I told you before that I won't interfere with the affairs of the resettlement. You can make your own decisions on these matters. You don't need to ask me, Ji Hongfei replied. Now Liu Zhenping is no longer considered a person from the base, nor is he an infiltrator, so many things naturally cannot be revealed to him. Since that's the case, then Zhenping will leave. After saying that, Liu Zhenping stood up and left. Directly after Liu Zhenping left, Ji Hongfei sighed again. It is unknown whether this sigh was out of helplessness towards Liu Zhenping or regret for Su Manine. Brother, how is it? The security team member saw Liu Zhenping return and hurriedly stepped forward to ask. From today onwards, I have the final say in Cheohu, Liu Zhenping said decisively. Yes, the team members were overjoyed and stood at attention, responding in unison. September 1, 2055 AD. 2:40 a.m. Liaoshan Province, Anzhong City, Wulong Mountain Resettlement. Normally at this time, the resettlement would have already quieted down, but today is very unusual. The resettlement is brightly lit, and the square is densely packed with people. They are not ordinary people, but young and strong men, all armed with guns. Brothers, I ask you, do you want to fill your bellies? Yes. Do you want to marry a wife? Yes, that's right. Who doesn't want to eat 3 meals a day until they're full? Who doesn't want a wife, children, and a warm bed? But someone is withholding our food and not letting us live. What do you all say we should do? Kill. 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 Well said. I solemnly declare here that we are not bandits, nor are we rebelling. We just want to take back the food that belongs to us. Is that right or not? Yes, good. Comrades, let us take up the guns in our hands and take back the food that belongs to us. Now listen to my orders. Everyone get on the train, move out. The person speaking is the mayor of Andong City, the person in charge of the Wulong Mountain resettlement. Xin. In the past, inciting civil unrest was a serious crime that undermined national stability. It's just that now the parliament does not interfere in the internal affairs of the resettlement, which has allowed some people with ulterior motives to take advantage of the situation. So, is there really someone withholding their food? Actually, there isn't. This is just a rhetoric to incite popular sentiment. If you really want to say that someone is withholding everyone's food, then it is Xin himself. Of the food allocated from above each month, less than half actually reaches the hands of the people. The planned allocation of food could only barely fill their bellies, and now that Xin has withheld 50%, it would be strange if they could eat their full. Xin is doing this to cultivate the discontent of these people now that they have also been issued guns. These young and strong men have formed a civilian soldier team with a certain degree of combat effectiveness at Xin's order. These civilian soldiers jumped onto the train one after another. Xin's real target is the provincial capital city located in the northwest direction, Fengshan City, Liaoshan Province. Fengshan City is the same as other cities. There is no one in the urban area, but this is an important transportation hub in the northeast region. After capturing Fengshan City, they can use this to advance in the southwest direction and occupy China's largest steel industry city, Andong City. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.